Okay, I think we are at 10:30, so we'll begin by offering Mangalacharan prayers. This chapter is considered to be the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, but then 18th chapter is the summary or summarization of all the remaining chapters. Just like second chapter is actually the whole of Bhagavad Gita. But similar to second chapter, 18th chapter is actually summarization of the entire Bhagavad Gita. So in that sense, this is one of the very important chapters to understand. So we'll begin with the Mangalacharan. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shrirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So welcome everyone, those who are available online and also those who are in the room. This meeting is being recorded. Okay. So last week we were discussing chapter 17th of Bhagavad Gita. Now this chapter is divisions of faith, and actually it's important to understand this chapter in many perspectives, because we live in this material world. We come across people who have many different types of faith, right? So it's important for us to understand the correct perspective of faith. If we don't understand correct perspective of faith, then we might misjudge people, we might misjudge different types of worships. Because I have not kept any video, I can't see anyone. Is it small enough? Right. This one. Should I say to this and take this much area? So
Prabhu, just quickly, I just wanted to say that your class last week was incredible.
Oh, thank you. Sol Mercy Prabhupada. Thank you. So the reason we started discussing 17 chapters, because at the end of 16th chapter, Krishna gave conclusion to Arjuna that if you have to do something in your life, do it according to scriptures. Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te. Take Shastra as Pramanam. Pramanam means take Shastra as the proof for doing anything. Tasmat Shastra, and Tasmat means therefore, which means it's a conclusion. And whenever you come across this word tasmat, then your ear should be really listening properly, because it's a conclusion. So conclusion happens after a long journey of learning. It's not an easy. For soul, we are transmigrating from one bodies to other. many bodies, and now, there in one lifetime we come to a conclusion and we decide, okay, no, this is what is right and this is what I should be doing. So conclusion comes after a very long journey. And therefore, every time you hear this word tasmad, specifically from the mouths of pure devotees, Shukdev Goswami, Krishna, Arjun, then therefore these are conclusive truths. So Krishna says, Tasmat Shastram Pramanamte Karya Akarya Vivastito. So do your what to do and what not to do. You should do it based on the proof of the scriptures. Jnanatva Shastra Vidhan Uktam. So after Jnanatva, after you get the Jnana, knowledge of the Shastra, then you should understand that the Shastra is Vidhana or law. It cannot be bent. Just as there are laws of nature, there are traffic laws. Similarly, Shastra gives you laws. So they are not just proofs for you to verify and ratify, but they are actually beyond that. They are actually natural laws of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, they will always have an impact in your life if you follow Shastra. So, Jnanatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartum Ya Arhasi. So, you do your activities according to this Shastra. So, now Arjuna is perplexed because he is thinking of all the people who actually, because Krishna has divided people into demoniac and divine. Because he said those people who follow Shastra, they are divine. Those people who don't follow, they are demoniac. So, Arjuna is now coming in between and asking questions: is who is divine and who is demoniac? If they partially follow the divine, if they partially follow the demoniac, what if they were following, but now they have stopped following because they found the practices too difficult? What to do of such people? But then also there are people who are towards demoniac side but not completely demoniac, and then there are different types of faith. So he asked this question to Krishna, and Krishna actually starts to present answers to Arjuna, and he divides this whole conception of faith or modern day world religion based on the understanding of these key areas. Krishna first, Arjuna asks question about unauthorized worship, and then Krishna explains about what actually is faith, because the definition of faith, if you go to different religionists, is very confusing. Ask them, try it out. Go to church or go to mosque and just ask them what's the definition of faith according to you. That definition of faith 200% will be extremely different to the definition of faith Krishna has given in Bhagavad Gita. Because according to Krishna, this is all the category of people, those people who believe in other religions, and those people who don't believe in other religions, but they still want to follow rules. And then the third category, they don't want to follow any rules. They are complete demons, essentially, according to Bhagavad Gita. So, different people worship according to the category they fall under, first or second. They will worship either other religions or they will worship demons, demigods, superstars, sports personalities, musicians, like that. So, the question was, do such people attain perfectional stage? This is the question Arjuna asked. Okay, this is again the same thing. Then Krishna first starts to explain the definition of faith. And faith, Krishna says, based on a certain faith, you will get certain type of worship. And based on a certain type of worship, you will be attracted to certain type of a scripture or a certain type of a knowledge. Now, this can also happen that someone is a jnani or someone is after knowledge. So they are first attracted to certain type of a knowledge. And then based on that type of knowledge, they will build their faith and they will establish a certain type of a worship in their lifestyle. So then, based on the type of scripture, they will get a specific type of knowledge. And based on knowledge, they will get a specific type of, they will be peaceful and prosperous, because knowledge will bring them some peace and some prosperity. So this is the secret of peace and prosperity. Doesn't matter who they follow, what religion, if they follow any religion, but if they have this kind of system, if they are developing and cultivating knowledge, then they will get this peace and they will be prosperous by their nature, provided they are following a certain religion. And then that peace and prosperity will slowly push them towards perfectional stages or higher stages of existence. Now, faith, now everything starts with faith. Now, Sanskrit word for faith is actually not a true translation of the word faith, because the Sanskrit word for faith is Shraddha. And Shraddha is not just faith by itself. Shraddha is basically faith combined with some love. When you're speaking of love and faith, when you're speaking just of trust, just of faith, you're speaking about trust. When you're speaking just about faith, you're speaking about trust. But when you have some element of love, the trust is implicit. You don't have to, fear, okay, I don't have trust in a person, or I don't have a faith. Literally translates to an element and a degree of trust. But if you add love into that, then basically the trust is implied, that if you're loving someone, you will trust the person. Oftentimes when people fight with each other, then they say, oh, you don't trust me. Oh, you don't trust me. And that's why the biggest fights happen, is because there is no trust. But when there is love, the trust is implied.
You said there's 3 types of faith, right?
3 types of faith, yes, but that we are coming to. I'm just revising now. So divine, if someone follows the Vedic scriptures, they have divine nature. Those who don't follow Vedic scriptures, they have demoniac scriptures. And those who are in between, 50-50, what happens to them, and what is their faith? How will they go about building their faith? This is actually the question of Arjun. And then Krishna tells us that those who give up scriptural injunctions after because of laziness and difficulty in the process of worship. So Krishna divides the categories of people who are in between into 2 subtypes, and the subtypes being, one category gives up just because the worship is too troublesome, and one category of people is, they just don't want to worship. They want to follow rules, regulations, but they don't want to worship. So Krishna starts explaining that the basis of faith is actually modes, what modes you are in. And based on the association of certain modes, you are going to develop samskaras or impressions. And based on those impressions, you will acquire certain nature. That is called swabhava, or acquired nature. Any questions so far? No. Okay. So we move on.
3 types of swabhav.
Swabhav, 3 types, based in what mode you are in. And none of the modes are pure. So inside ignorance, you will find some tinge of goodness. And inside passion, you will find some tinge of ignorance. Similarly, inside complete ignorance, you will find some passion. And in passion, you will find some goodness, and you will also find some ignorance. And in goodness, you will also find some passion. So any religion, they will have people who are in these different modes. So you can label a certain religion, oh, this religion is completely in ignorance. But that can be a broad, high-level classification. But underneath the religion, there will be individuals. And individuals can be in the mode of goodness. Automatically, those individuals will be attracted to the higher principles in that religion, if it's a proper religion.
What's an example of someone in a mode of goodness with a tinge of ignorance?
Yes. What's an example of people who are in the mode of goodness but a tinge of ignorance? People who are possibly following a Vedic system, who have given up the worship, and in ignorance they basically fast on different days without actually knowing what's the procedure of fasting, what's the best fast, what's the best step. We're going to come into austerities. In that section, you will see a category of people will do austerity just for the sake of doing austerities. It's a big such category. And generally the faith, resides with the soul. And so in the region of the heart, we are building this faith. And we discussed about people what are the living entities who are in different types of faiths. And faith of the people who are in the mode of ignorance, they worship ghosts or bhutas or pretas, pishachas, yakshas and rakshasas. So translation in English exact is not known to me. Ghost, hobgoblins, goblins, witches, I don't know what all words exist. Yes, Brandon, Prabhu, Cecily, Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I was just wondering about the definition of religion that's being given, because maybe, I don't know, is there a different definition in Western society where they would define religion as, like Wicca, for example, like different types of witchcraft, they would put that under the blanket of religion, and other sorts of things, which I guess in my mind I'd be like, well, that's not worshiping God, that's not religion. But what I guess here it says different modes, and it has ghost worship in there. So what's the definition of religion?
Good question. Very good question. So definition of religion, if you go according to Western context, I think you know the answer for the Western context for sure. Religion comes from the Greek word religio, which means to connect. So religion should be a process in which a person is able to connect to their nature, their pure nature, not acquired nature. The process of connecting with true nature of oneself, that is religion. It's it should not be an acquired nature. So that is and this is not even Vedic, what I just said. This is just Western philosophers. Religio means to connect, and comes from, I don't know, Latin or Greek, maybe Latin, I think. But if you go to Vedic system, there is no such word as religion. The word is dharma. The word uses dharma. So the problem now is the translation between dharma and religion is not exact, because the Sanskrit is a superset, English is a subset. You can't map something from the higher nature into the lower nature. So the word dharma means that it literally, if you take literal Sanskrit, it means duty. But dharma goes beyond that. Dharma means what is the duty, or what is the main occupation of the self. So dharma of, this Prabhupada has mentioned this many, dharma of sugar is to be sweet. Dharma of the salt is to be salty. Similarly, the dharma of the soul is to love the super soul, or love God.
Is that the principal quality
Of the soul. Because soul is made up of Sat, Chit and Ananda. Eternity, bliss and full of knowledge.
Even if you take sugar, if it's to be sweet, there's lots of other qualities, but the principal one is sweetness.
Yes, if you speak sugar, what comes to your mind first?
Yeah, straight away.
Sugar, right? Sweetness. If you speak of salt, what does come to your mind first? Saltiness. So that fire, fire will give two properties, light and heat. When sun comes out, you should feel both light and heat. If you can't feel the heat, then you are not satisfied, right? So similarly, the nature of the dharma of the soul is actually to carry out duty towards Supreme Lord. That's its actual dharma, paro dharma, loving devotional service to Supreme Lord. Now, can that become a religion? That can become unlimited number of religions. That definition of dharma can become so many different types of religions. It doesn't equate to just process of connection. It's also the process of actually connecting and reciprocation. Because if you just connect and there is no reciprocation, connection has to be followed by reciprocation. So therefore, soul, super soul, connection between them, relation between them, and the reciprocation between them, reciprocal nature of the relationship. So there is this slight nuance to dharma and religion, and academics will give you a very lengthy difference between the two words, religion and dharma. And I hope that gives you some answer, hopefully. Hare Krishna. So then moving on, there are different types of living entities, and they, by their acquired nature or by their pure nature, they will end up worshipping certain types of people. Now, generally, people in the mode of ignorance, they will worship these kinds of living entities, ghosts, and those who are in the mode of goodness, they will worship demigods. Even in the Western world, there is a big fan following of the demigods. And as it is starting to wane, then you will see these movies which come up, which is reinforcing the same concepts. Thor and the Lord of the Thunder, the Zeus, and this and that. There are so many personalities. If you go back in history and try and study Greek demigods, I wouldn't say they are all matching, but some of them are matching. It would be just completely ignorance to say, oh, there is every exact match and the two things are similar. It's just, no, that's not the case. But a lot of them, the descriptions are matching.
So you're saying it's kind of planned. If they see it waning, then again make a movie to bring this up again.
No, it's just material nature, It's not an individual who is overseeing this and not that. That is not the case. So demigods, forefathers, people in the mode of goodness, they also have this Pitri Loka, which is a planet above the earthly planets. Angels, Gandharvas and Apsaras. Sometimes we see some person walks into the temple and they can just play the instrument, even with their eyes closed, even with their hands not, I know a lot of harmonium players who never look at the keys. I mean, I've been trying to learn harmonium for such a long time. I still can't manage one tune of Hare Krishna. But I know of harmonium players. Our Radha Landaneshwar Prabhu, once he was playing in Croydon and it started to rain. And it rained only on one building. The building in which we were all in. No other building was wet. It was just one building. And I was walking outside doing my japa. And I was looking up. I was looking on the other side of the road and I was in the building. So I was shocked. So there are people who can play certain ragas and specifically blessed by the Lord, and they can connect with the material nature and they can change the material physical elements. When Krishna used to play flute, then the river would stop flowing and the stones would start to melt. And therefore, wherever Krishna was standing, his footprints are there in Vrindavan Dham. So if you go to Braj, they say, oh, here is the footprint of Krishna. Someone may ask, oh, how is it fossilized? How is it still present there? This is the reason it is still present there. It's because wherever Krishna is, his tune is always there. And therefore, everything becomes soft. The cows are in anxiety so that they can soften the land so that Krishna can walk, because they are thinking Krishna's feet will get hurt. And actually, Krishna is the most softest person. So essentially, Siddhas, Charanas, Vidya, these are celestial beings, people who play instruments and some people who sing. Narad Muni was one such singer. He mentions about his previous life. Some of you or all of you must be knowing about his previous life. He was one of the singers. And his only fault was instead of singing for the Lord, he was singing for a beautiful woman or women actually. So therefore, he was cursed to become by the demigods. He was cursed to come as a son of a maidservant.
And then she put me every day for dresses.
Harini Mataji, you're saying something?
It's like I'm doing a course, but there's, it's useless to do a course that is like no one is taking care of.
Okay. I think she's speaking to someone else. So then these are then there is a faith in the mode of passion, which is demons. Ravana is a classic demon, and demons, they will basically want to build so many stuff without actually a thought of how it will impact the whole world. Like in the time of Hiranyakashipu, he was instructing all the demons to dig the earth, do the mining, and so they were digging the whole earth to get gold. And we have miners even today. They are digging the earth really badly for special minerals. And all of that will have its own impact. Fracking, mining. So essential idea is that something that is done without actually full knowledge of how it can impact everyone in the nature, not just human beings, because we are always concerned about how we will be impacted. But there are other living entities. And any prime minister or king who doesn't look after all living entities is bound to suffer ugra karma. They have to look after all the people. Okay, there is someone I can't admit. Just bear with me. So many windows open. Admit.
Prabhu,
This way, and
I think that was
Hiranyakashipu wanted to.
go this way, and rather than
Hiranyakashipu is like a million times Ravan. It's described that there has no such demon ever been born who was as powerful as Hiranyakashipu. He was even more powerful than Bhrigu Muni. and you don't know about Bhrigumani, so you can't actually understand how powerful this demon was. Brahma said to him, to Hiranyakashipu, that no one has ever done the kind of austerity you have done, and in future also no one will be ever able to do what you have done. You have, yeah, on his toes. And he said, and you have surpassed Bhrigumuni. No one can surpass Bhrigumuni. You know, Bhrigumuni is the even higher than Shukracharya, Kavi, who is actually the spiritual master of all the demons. Even 2 layers above is Bhrigumuni. So, you know, Hiranyakashipu was above him. So he was the most ferocious and powerful demon.
Hiranyakashipu is Ravan, no?
Yes, yes. But in different age, the concentration increases. If in Satyuga, the concentration is extremely high. So therefore, it is said in Kali Yuga, you can't even be a proper demon. You are like half-baked demon. You know, you can't be fully powerful demon because the power is distributed among so many people. And therefore, you see systems like democracy. And because monarchy can't work, because you can't find the strong, pure-hearted person to actually take charge. Therefore, democracy is for Kali Yuga.
So in terms of the earth, he was digging this way, and
Yes.
Ravan was trying to get the staircase that way.
Yes, but Ravan also dig for gold in Brazil. Okay, so we move on.
Yeah.
So then the question comes, okay, based now, if the faith is all dependent on the modes, and I am already born with certain modes, then how can I change my modes? And the answer was given that you can only change your modes by abiding with the teachings of a bona fide spiritual master. All words are important in this statement. Abiding, critically important. You must abide. And you know, we may fail, but we should have at least an intention of abiding. We may not be fully capable of fully abiding, but we should start somewhere and we should slowly progress. And therefore, the very important point mentioned is gradually.
Right.
Because no one can do things immediately. It's just not possible. So it has to be a gradual process. And by abiding with the teachings of the Vedic literatures, scriptures, and it must be done gradually.
Are they stepwise or is it synonymous 1 and 2?
They are not necessarily stepwise, but you have to have a bona fide spiritual master. You have to have Vedic scriptures, teachings, and then, you know, when you actually get some knowledge. Take, for example, how many of you have eaten prasadam this morning? Hands up. 1, 2. Online, how many of you have taken prasadam? 3, 5.
Yeah, I have.
You know, whatever prasad these people have taken just now, I'll give you some information from Ayurveda. Whatever prasad you have taken this morning is going to affect you after 36 days. Whatever you eat today actually comes into your body and shows its force in 36 days time. So even for the food's goodness, passion, and ignorance to get into your body, it needs time to actually form and actually show its full impact. And similarly, the digestion process also needs time. You know, you can't expect I've eaten the food immediately within 2 hours, 3 hours, I'll cleanse my body. Immediately, I'll eat more. Immediately, someone must be extremely gifted like that. If someone is able to do that, it's just not possible. So the point is that everything that has been done organically will have good impact in your body. And therefore, people stress towards sattva. Then those who give up, then this category is of the people who give up scriptural injunctions out of demoniac swabhava or demoniac acquired nature. So they basically don't follow scriptures. They worship out of pride and ego, you know, ulterior motives they have. And for instance, to promote a political or a social end, I gave an example of a very famous Bollywood actor who has a very famous video which says that all religions are same. And a lot of religionists, you know, take like a lot of offense at that, because how can you compare, say, Christianity with Islam, or Judaism with Islam, or, you know, Hinduism with Christianity? All of them, essence is almost the same in lot of them, but there are a lot of differences in details. And then they're generally impelled by love, attachment, and strength. Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
All the religions in the modes are like chapter 13 or 14 on the modes, they all create karmic reactions. They don't get you out of repeated birth and death, right? They lock you in.
They
Whichever
lock
ones you, yeah.
That's it. They lock you in. But if you
Uh-huh.
go and study, at least you can go and study Christianity. I'm not speaking of all, so there are many branches of Christianity, but at least in some of them, they have a conception of reducing the karmic footprint. And the reason they don't accept karma is because if they accept karma, then people will say that in this life, just enjoy and create all bad karma, and in next life I'll repent for my bad karma, I'll do all good karma next life. So they purposefully manually took out the concept of karma, but they kept the concept of compassion and love. And this because like maximum teachings in Christianity has been edited. There has been lot of edits. So basically they kept, and this was a discussion I think in a Roman church or something, where they consciously discussed this concept of karma and removed it from the books. And the concept of compassion was kept, because you can have this concept of compassion. People can sin, they can come to the churches and they can ask for repentance, and the God, being unlimitedly powerful, can relieve them of the sins, and then they can go back and think that, okay, Lord was extremely merciful to me, so much compassion, and maybe out of this compassion of the Lord they will change their habits.
You say the motive of that is to increase the power of the priesthood, because karma is this way you come to get your sins absolved.
Yes, in all religious institutions, now we are divulging into a different topic, institutions, you will have this situation of power sharing, where if the person at the top is not completely Krishna conscious or not completely spiritual, then there will always be sucking of the power towards priestlyhood. And that's why Kali Yuga started, because a 12-year-old boy was given knowledge but didn't know how to use that knowledge. The power he had, but he didn't know how to apply the power. And that's why he cursed a greatly pious king, and the Kali Yuga began just at that moment. So the point is, there will always be, in institutions, there will be this struggle, and because the institutions are not pure, therefore a system of democracy is needed. Because if there are many lots, some are pure, then they will drag someone else who are wanting to be pure but are pulled up and down by the modes of nature and Maya and everything. Yes, Brandon, Prabhu, Cecily, Manoj.
Hare Krishna. I was just wondering, in the same vein that you were saying about the person who said, all religions are the same, when you said that there is some similarity in the essence, but there is difference. What about that person would then say, oh, but those differences, they're just inconsequential, it doesn't really matter. All these differences, they're just superficial, really. They're,
Well, then, and the answer to this is not straightforward, because Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita that actually all people are coming to me, whatever their paths are, they are all coming to me. So when such people say that it's inconsequential what their path is, the actual difference is that a soul who was about to reach Krishna directly from point A to point B has now been diverted into millions of lifestyles, millions of lifetimes. If someone, for example, you are distributing books on streets and you actually offend someone on the street, and they basically offend you back, and you take the offense from them, do you know what you have done to that person? If you are a proper devotee of Krishna, and you took offense, generally a pure devotee of Krishna will never take offense. Madhyam Adhikari will have philosophical reasoning in their mind, and somehow they will balance it out. But a neophyte devotee who is sincere and sincerely practicing and wanting to progress, that is unripened mango now, and tomorrow it is going to become ripened mango. And that unripened mango, because of its unripened state, has taken offense from someone on the street while distributing books. Krishna feels that offense, and that person who he has taken offense from, and he has offended, what you have done, you have thrown that person out away from Krishna for millions of lives. All of them have to come to Krishna at some points in time. So whether you speak to a Buddhist, whether you speak, that's why Vaisheshika Prabhu stresses this point time and again. Always leave people with good impression. Because when they are on their path and you don't need to disturb them, but if they are open to conversation, you can have conversation. When the conversation is good, you have reduced their number of lifetimes in misery in the modes, and you have brought them at least hundreds of thousands of lifetimes closer to Krishna. What to speak if they touch Bhagavad Gita? What to speak if they read Bhagavad Gita? What to speak if they actually follow Bhagavad Gita? They have opportunity to go back home, back to God. And then you don't know that those people have already heaps of pious credits. Because when we meet people on streets, we think that everyone is a sinful wretch. That's not the case. Other than us, most of the people are generally pious. So if you see those people, they have been sincere, they have been going to church, they have been, good people, not stealing, being honest, these good qualities, everyone has vices, but a saintly person should only see the good in other people. And even if there is small good, then Krishna's quality is to magnify it unlimitedly. We can't magnify because we are not Krishna, but at least we should have positive mindset about them. And then what happens is, we have very speedily brought them towards Krishna, and we have reduced their suffering by reducing the number of lifetimes in the material world. That's why it said that the spiritual master takes away your sufferings. How? By not letting you in these modes of material nature, not letting you in the bodies. And when you offend someone, then this is the problem. So, no, go on.
Can we caveat it in the sense that they make a personal offense to you about your character or your appearance or something,
yes,
that we just wash off?
Yes.
If there's something about Krishna or the movement or the book or something,
yes,
then you're not allowed to
say. If they say, very good question Prabhuji has asked, if you're going out on book distribution or speaking to some person and that person blasphemes Krishna, chastises your spiritual master, and tells something about Krishna, basically. So should you become angry, upset with them? Now, generally speaking, if you are a disciple and a sincere disciple of a guru, you should never hear anything wrong about your guru. Okay, so your natural blood will start to boil. But in your heart, if you pray that, oh my Lord, this person is actually in ignorance. Oh my spiritual master, please forgive him. And I'm willing to take his offense on me, and please forgive him. You might save that person because you have not taken offenses and you are willing to take offense that he has created on yourself. In this way, Krishna will be extremely pleased, because this is what Haridas Thakur did. He was getting beaten in 22 marketplaces. Everyone was seeing him. And in his heart, he is praying, oh my Lord, these people are in ignorance. Please don't punish them. So what happened? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrapped himself around Haridas Thakur. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to take the beatings. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his beatings to Haridas Thakur that, look, you were not willing to, allow me to attack on those two people who were chastising you. And at the same time, you were praying for their safety. So I had to do this for you. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was extremely pleased with Haridas Thakur. Jesus is another such example. Crucifixion.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj is such example. He's the best example. Thank you, Abhijit Prabhu. Because he was not beaten once or twice. He was in constant danger. His mother was told to feed him poison. There was no situation in which he was safe, ever. And, he was not a fully grown up. He was still a small boy. So he was constantly praying for the benefit of those people who were torturing him. So this is the nature of the soul. This is the nature of a Vaishnav. Vaishnav is willing to take offenses of others on themselves and pray to the Lord to not. But I'm speaking of extremely high platform. Don't tomorrow go out on streets and just get beaten up. If you don't get beaten up, protect yourself. If someone's attacking you, then you just have to constantly be persistent. It's called persistent communication. You just have to be persistent. You just have to tell them, you don't have to be nasty with me. Like you, I'm also a human being. You have to have this persistent style of communication. So Shastra is there, and then there is achar or practices. So you have to have balance between achar and the shastric knowledge. And when your achar increases, improves, purifies constantly, then at one point in time, your practice of devotional life and the words of the footsteps of the saintly people, they will come at the same level, and you will be able to fully. But do you not get benefit when you were protecting yourself and doing this? You will still get the same benefit. But the pleasure of Lord in one case is extremely high. You know, when Supreme Lord is pleasure, when you want to give pleasure to the Supreme Lord, it doesn't matter when you give pleasure to the Lord for one moment or 1 trillion lifetime. Even for a moment, you're willing to give him pleasure. That's the point. If you can give him pleasure for all of your existence, that's the best. But even if for one moment you want to be giving him, then you want to do it fully. So this is how you have to balance the achar, and which means your practices with the following the Vaishnavas, because not every time we will be able to follow fully to the purest standards. But your behavior should be such that you should be slightly inching towards purest standard. In your mind, you can make full progress like a fully pure devotee. And in your practices, you should act in such a way so as to protect the movement first. Protect Srila Prabhupada's reputation first. If that person, he was chastising you and you also become like that, you chastise my spiritual master right on streets when 500 people are watching you and filming it, and they're going to put you on YouTube. What you have done in a flash because of self-control. You couldn't do self-control. It's called Atma. Out of the 20 items of knowledge, this is one of the words. Not therium. Atma Vinigraha, self-control. Because you are not self-controlled, then you will say, oh Prabhu, I beat him up, I blasphemed him up because he was chastising my spiritual master. Thank God, you were in middle of 500 people and you were saying he was blaspheming your spiritual master. So what? You just take the blasphemy, but you behave well with that person. So other 500 can see that, okay, this person is saintly and he is properly representing his spiritual master. If someone is coming to kill you, I'm not asking you to get killed. You have to protect yourself. But in physical fights, don't get involved with them. Just be saintly. Because if people are observing, then they will see the saintliness of who is saintly. They will not say whether your point was correct or wrong. And don't think that you're not being watched. You're always watched. Everywhere you walk down the street, you're always watched.
So little knowledge is dangerous because that is increasing the hankar from the mode of goodness. And then your behavior is not appropriate. So you damage the reputation of the movement. Just for 1 minute.
Yeah, but that will give you the joy of getting that position that you want, you really crave in your heart. And because you get that position, and out of that position, the joy you get, you feed that back into the bad dog in you, false ego. So what happens? Your false ego becomes thicker. It's already extremely thick. But it becomes even stronger and stronger. So there is a problem with that. Okay, I think I'm slow. I need to speed up.
The faith week starts the day. So
okay. So this is the type of people who give up scriptural injunctions. They are basically demoniac in nature, and they are wanting something out from scriptures. And if they can't find, then they're willing to give it up. Now, how to find out someone's faith? You might ask, oh, that person walking on the street, what is his faith? And someone will say, he looks like a Christian. That's the funniest answer. Oh, he looks like a Muslim because he has got a big beard and he's got, okay, maybe from his appearance, he might look like a modern day specific religion. But when you actually speak to the person, you find out whether the person is in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. That's when you actually know what are the 4 types of practices he follows. And these are 4 aces of bhakti. Aces essentially austerity, charity, eating, and sacrifice. If you get information about these 4 areas about any person, then you can ascertain what is the faith of that person. Otherwise, you can't ascertain their faith. You know, they may be dressed as something and you will think, oh, they are this type or they are this religion. Yes, they are that religion, completely agree. But within the religion, whether they have accepted the higher principles or whether they have accepted the lower principles, you will never know it until unless you strike a conversation and get answers of these 4 areas. So those who consider all kinds of sacrifice or food or charity to be same cannot discriminate, and they are foolish. So those people who think, you know, that anything walking we can eat and all food is same, and they don't have discrimination in these 4 areas, that means they are not intelligent people, because everyone has these 4 things different.
Very definitive, right? It's such a useful guide.
Exactly. This is what Bhagavad Gita is. That's why they call Bhagavad Gita X-ray. The clarity you get from Bhagavad Gita is so stark and so sharp that it won't let you live in peace. It won't, and it won't let you slip away. If you have understood it properly by mercy of Prabhupada, then you know it's not possible for you to go here and there, because you know the knowledge is beating you. No, this is not right. This is right. This is not. And the knowledge that is, it's not religion-based knowledge. It's not the modern religious concepts. These are time-tested concepts from many, many ages. And they can be fitted into any religion, any modern-day religion. That's why you enjoy so much reading Bhagavad Gita. And that's why it said, anyone who reads 13th chapter, anyone who reads 14th chapter has an opportunity for liberation. All the chapters have benediction. Then we went into foods. And we had a conversation around milk, which I want to come back in a moment. But we generally said that one's lifespan, purity, health, strength, everything increases by taking foods which are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to heart. And we discussed between, you know, I don't want to get into technical terms around what is bad fat and good fat, you know, HDL and LDL and all those things. You know, food has to have some fats. It's needed for the body. You know, good fats are good, bad fats are bad. But simple point is you have to have some fat in your body for its normal sustain. Otherwise, the bones, the cartilage, they won't have enough lubrication. You will get arthritis and a lot of other problems. So, yes, Prabhuji.
I just realized your slide on aces.
Yes.
Mirrors verse 9.27, which is above the notes.
Oh.
Krishna says, Yat karoshi yat asnasni, if I remember. Yat jihosi.
How is it related?
Because to be above the modes, Krishna is saying in that verse, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away, whatever sacrifice you perform, you then do all of that just for Krishna. So then that brings this above the modes in that chapter. Bhakti,
Very good reflection, Puji. Amazing reflection. Such beautiful reflection. He specifically is speaking about these 4 things. Yes, in that verse, Yat karoshi, Yat ashnasi, Yat juhoshi, Dadase, Yat tapasyasi konte. These 4 things he's speaking. That is one of the verses we memorize in Bhagavad Gita. Because in that verse, Krishna is saying, whatever you eat, whatever you give away, whatever austerities you do, whatever charity you do that as an offering unto me, O son of Kunti. You know, it's a very inspiring verse of Bhagavad Gita. And actually, yes, as Prabhuji said, this is he is talking of these 4 things. Aces there, and this is how you can find out if Hare Krishna devotee is actually doing these 4 things. Then you can know that he is a Hare Krishna devotee, offering to Krishna. Thank you. So Prabhupada mentioned specifically about animal fat. People like to eat animals. Prabhupada is saying, don't kill animals and eat. You know, you can get milk is the best thing that you can get from any animal, butter, cheese, and milk products. And now I'm speaking about Siddhanta. It becomes controversial, but I want my students to be absolutely, and you're not my student, you're a student of Prabhupada. Sorry for my false ego, but I want everyone to be very clear about, you know, the milk and veganism and eating meat and vegetarianism. I don't want any confusion when Siddhanta concept of axiomatic truths are based. When Siddhanta is there should be no Hare Krishna. There should be no question or confusion in your minds, because now in the modern day we have so many modern day religions, right? We have feminism, we have veganism, We have lot many more isms which are actually we are not aware of. Gluten-free ism. There are so many isms. Now, they are there for a reason. Because people have had some reaction, so they have said, okay, now I'm burnt, now I want to eat these kinds of food. But this is like next level. It's not just I will eat this kind of food, I will philosophize it, I will package it like what religions do. I'll make a specific soft drink out of it, like you have Fanta, Coca-Cola, and Sprite, and then that is the flavor, then we will market it out. So then that spreads everywhere, and it's good in that sense that they want to propagate and it's spreading. So what is our position? I just don't want to be diplomatic in this case, so I'm just going to be direct and straight. Milk is always pure. That is the statement of Shastra. Milk is considered to be always pure. Milk which comes from cows is always considered to be pure. Sheep milk is not good for anyone. So if you take sheep milk, goat's milk, you get heavy karma, because those animals are not designed to give extra milk. So if you take halloumi, for example, or feta cheese, make sure it's made from cow's milk. Greek feta cheese is very famous in salads. So I'm just mentioning it out clearly because possibly others may not discuss it, and I don't want my video to be uploaded in YouTube. But it is meant, this subject matter is meant for consumption of those people who are here. Yes, Laveen Prabhu.
What about cows that were factory farmed? What would be the
mean as in
response to this?
You mean by factory farming there are two grades. The most worst one is when you actually clone a cow.
Okay, let's say just for the sake of like the argument, like if like the worst one, the absolute worst, like what would be the response to that?
Well, you will see that when some cow is actually cloned, you will see the products that are coming out from that cow will not have full potency in them. So they will have problems. At the same time, cows are given a lot of chemical injections. I don't know if you have known about this, but cows are being tortured and given a lot of. Now, some of the injections are just to protect the cows, from diseases. They are needed. Some of the injections are actually to increase the production of the cow, and those injections, they come into the milk. And then whatever sattva is still left in that milk, whatever goodness is still left, people take the milk through this industrial process where they take the complete remaining sattva out of the milk. They inject some vitamin B, vitamin C, B12, folic acid, and then they some chemicals to elongate the shelf life of the milk, and then milk is put back and then comes into the bottle and that is sold. So and if you are in India, then you are not even, it goes even worse. Sometimes people mix chemicals in that, white chemicals like charcoal. No, not charcoal. What is it? It's a calcium based chemical. No, not cow dung. It's a
powder, talcum powder.
Not, pardon? Chalk powder. Yes, thank you, Madhaji. Chalk powder in your milk, imagine. And people, they get stomach aches. All of my childhood, I had stomach aches. Now I realize why. Because the persons from whom we were taking milk, there is no quality standard. They add water into it and they also add chemicals into it. So I always had stomach ache. But whenever I went to my village and we had 2 cows and I used to bucket of milk, after one big glass, we would go for second. No problem. Health is fully strong. The blood circulations was good. My weight, I was very thin. My weight increased at that time by 15 kgs. So my mother was saying, okay, I think you're better suited in village. I said, maybe mama, maybe, but I have to study. So the point is, and then, you have different types of cows. Now, whatever be the type of cow, whether it's a Jersey cow or non-Jersey cow, cow is a cow. It's a sacred animal. Prabhupada says if people want to kill and eat, then kill some, because you are an animal meat eater, kill some other animal. Don't kill cows. Someone might come back at Hare Krishna and say, oh, you then make distinction between animals. Oh, you make distinction between humans. Oh, there is a caste system, which we are going to discuss in next session. But this is a philosophy, and the philosophy has a scientific basis. Yes, Mataji, you have a question? Brandon Prabhu, your hands are raised.
Sorry, it's me this time.
Yes.
I was just wondering when you said about goats and sheep, sheep, because certain areas of the world, for instance, they might not be able to support cows. They have like a different, climate and everything.
Yes.
So they might have like, goats or yaks or things instead.
Yes.
And they rely on those for their nutrition. So what would you say about that?
So Mataji, all that we are discussing, it has this nature, hierarchical nature, where the most fundamental thing is to remain Krishna conscious. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. That's the basis of the movement. And then with the basis of that movement, then there are details. And if you go into details, there can be unlimited details. And when Prabhupada started to ask his disciples to teach them deity worship, then the disciples, they actually didn't realize that deity worship, that Krishna consciousness had so much details, and Prabhupada actually didn't teach them absolute intricate details of deity worship, because they will go mad. Carrots, don't eat carrots, don't eat, there's so many things, but Prabhupada kept it to the best level of sattva that was possible for this age, Kali Yuga. So those people who are in those parts of the world, they are designed for those modes, and they'll have to find some source of their nutrition. So in the places where grains are, it's not possible to grow grains, you have to kill an animal and eat it, Mataji. Like cold places, you can't find any grains, you can't grow any grains. If you can't even import it, are you supposed to go hungry and die? No. Then you have to kill an animal and eat. But if you have an opportunity where you can live a sattvic life, when you can live a fully spiritual life, then there you must choose to not stick with products which are lower in nature. You must stick with products which are higher in nature, sattva, because in scriptures it is very clear that when you take milk from goat, sheep, or any other animals which actually don't produce extra milk, they just produce for their calves or their offspring, and those milk also gives you quite a few other types of skin diseases. So those people who are designed for those places, great, they can continue because they have no other source of nutrition. But if they have to then uplift their spiritual existence and they can come out of that area or geography, then they must come out and seek places where they can actually progress spiritually a little bit more. So even Prabhupada, he didn't stop people from eating meat if they had devotional services to carry it out. So in one of his disciples, he wrote to Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, I'm in this country, it's so cold here, there is no food, I can't find any vegetarian food. So Prabhupada wrote back to him, eat meat and continue to preach. So Prabhupada said, eat meat and continue to preach. But those were the days where actually you can't find any vegetarian food. It was impossible. It was impossible. And this was not an ordinary disciple like a neophyte. He was like, very senior disciple. So Prabhupada was very clear that there are higher principles. Loving Krishna is the highest principle that we have to follow at all costs. And the material situations not be conducive to follow, the lower principles sometimes. But a devotee wants to come up slowly. Slowly they want to be in the situation where they don't have to live by lower principles, they have to live by higher principles. But the highest principle is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And then there are hierarchies and details.
Milk from cow is gold standard, but I think people have this lactose intolerant and things like that. Then they come to goat and sheep because the doctor recommends.
Yeah, goat and sheep's milk is thinner. And cow's milk is also thinner. But the cow's breed has to be a specific breed. There are a few like African cows, their milk is thin. You take cows from Haryana and other parts of India, there are even some Brazilian cows, their milk is good for, and people have technically called it A2 cows, but it's not just about A2. There is too many other things. Milk is a full meal in itself. That's why brahmacharis in the evening just take a cup of milk, because actually it's a full meal in itself. It doesn't give you fibers, if you see it that way, but that is for your morning time and afternoon time. That's when you need to stack up fibers and carbohydrates and everything else. But in the evening time, tapasvis, they just take a cup of milk, warm milk, with some haldi. Haldi is curcumin. Yes, Mataji, you also have a question?
Yes. In Bhishma Panchaka, can we take milk?
In Bhishma Panchak, I exactly don't know precise details of what is to be taken. I've never read the section of Bhishma Khanda in Mahabharata where actually the details are mentioned. I've never read that. So I won't be able to guide you completely in details. Bhishma Panchak is also not ISKCON's original. Prabhupada didn't speak in details about Bhishma Panchak because Prabhupada wanted to give Krishna consciousness to the whole world. Now in whole world, Prabhupada, not everyone will be able to do austerities and tapasya. Those people who are able to do, then they must do it. They must do other kinds of austerities also, like Ekadashis, Bhishma Panchak and others. It is extremely purifying. But Prabhupada didn't mention or stress about it so much. He didn't want to make that as the base because the base has to be foundational principles. Yes, Cicely Mataji, you have a secondary question, Brandon Prabhu?
It's me. I was just wondering. I've sometimes had a difficult time communicating how cows are sacred to people who aren't familiar with the Vedic culture or devotional practices. And I find that sometimes they have this inherent feeling that this is some sort of primitive sort of idea, which is like sentimental. And they always say things like, well, cows, they're like responsible for global warming because of the methane gas, and look at the cows in India, like if you're trying to protect them, they're just eating all the crops and eating all the rubber. Why don't you just kill them and eat them? They're starving people, and sometimes it's quite difficult to communicate without sounding like.
Yes, and I think the reason it's being difficult to communicate is mainly because we ourselves are not in knowledge about cows as an animal. Like, I don't know how many of you actually know in detail about cows and what are the different breeds, what kind of milk. Krishna is Gopal, means he gives pleasure to the cows, and we as devotees actually don't have time to know about cows more. But if we learn about cows a little bit more, then I think our presentation about cows, we can immediately tell them that, look, the cow dung is antiseptic. It is antiseptic, proven to be antiseptic. If you take cow dung and use as your fertilizer, you don't need any man-made pesticide, which are all nitrogen based. And the size of the vegetables is even better because it's all organic in nature. It's all organic. And this is a fact. You can show it to them. So cow's poo is the best disinfectant. Cow's urine is also a disinfectant. People don't have this knowledge actually. Someone tells them that, they'll say, oh, human urine is also a disinfectant. But to the degree the cow's urine is disinfecting is not the same as to the degree that a human urine is disinfecting. Human urine has got proteins in it. So it's good for the body. Mahatma Gandhi used to drink his own urine. And people used to think him about a little crazy. But it's like protein from the body goes into the urine, and then the people drink their own urine, because then you get secondary or tertiary level of proteins into your body.
The age-old practice.
It's a very old practice. But we don't do those things. But we understand that cow's urine is not just about protein. It's actually completely, it's called go arka. So you treat the cow urine. You have to boil it and you have to just do some simple process on it. Then it's called go arka, which actually has complete antiseptic and disinfectant properties. You can take that in small quantities and you will feel the bacteria, germs in your body, the infections of your body go away over a period of time. Your immune system becomes stronger. So people who actually say these things, they have to be told that actually the whole civilization can be saved if we only manage to do simple things like protecting cows and taking simple cow products like cow urine, cow dung and the milk of the cow, and from the milk you can make butter, yogurt and ghee, which basically if you are able to use ghee, then you don't have to use artificial oils. There are refined oils. Quite a lot of the oils that you take from the market, olive oil is super expensive. Like you go see the dark green color bottle, you will run away because the price is like 16 pounds or 15 pounds for 1 liter. And a lot of the other oils, they are artificially compressed at very, very high temperatures. And so they all are refined, and refined is all human diseases began from the time when sugar came into existence and refined oils came into existence. Therefore, they say always buy cold pressed oil. Cold pressed oil is sattva remaining in the oil. But all those oils are extremely expensive. Just take a look at, simple cow ghee. Cow ghee you can make at home from milk. You don't have to buy expensive ghee from outside. You can just make at home, or you can just get butter from Tesco's, which is like 5 pounds, and you can make ghee. Now, ghee is not all the time healthy if you are already high in fats, your body is already high in fats. So in which case you should avoid ghee and take to some other oils. But that is earthly standard. It's not, the higher standard. You can take very limited quantities. If you don't take ghee, then there will be not enough lubrication in your body. So I stopped ghee completely. So I had other problems. Before that, I was taking ghee all the time. So with taking ghee all the time, and because of my sedentary lifestyle, because I sit back and work on computer, I don't do enough exercise that I should be doing. I don't have time with children and everything. Then that gives me other problems. So if you have sedentary lifestyles, don't eat ghee all the day and expect your health will be perfect and you will not have a pot belly. It's not going to happen. That's utopia. So then you have to switch to other oils which are pure. The next oil which is better is sesame oil. Is written, but it's very hot. Those people have a problem of heat in their body who get eczema and other kinds of diseases. They should avoid extremely hot oils. Then there is coconut oil. And then there is pros and cons. You have to go and do some research. I can't go into every single thing because then we'll diverge away from Bhagavad Gita and we'll only discuss about food. Ahar. We don't want to discuss only about food. But I hope to some degree it has answered your question, Brandon Prabhu. We have to first little bit be more educated. And then whenever someone is able to say such things, then we have to have like our arsenal of answers to them. And also remember that you will not be able to convince everyone. As long as you are fully okay with that understanding, you will be a peaceful and happy man. Otherwise, you will think, I didn't give the person a perfect answer. There is no perfect answer because the persons have to go through experience. They have to invest something. So they have to buy ghee and eat it and then see it actually affecting them. Then they will actually trust. Some people will trust you directly and fully agree with you and start following. That's higher category of people. But for maximum people, they will hear you from 1 year. They will throw it out from the second category. They'll hear, they'll ponder and keep it. Then they will hear again from someone else. And then third or fourth attempt, they will make a lifestyle switch, or they will say, okay, let me just try some of this, their amazing date laddus instead of eating some chocolate bars from outside, or let me just try their carob date laddus. It's just going one step towards sattva. You have chocolate, you have carob. Taste is almost similar. There is hardly any difference. But then you have something which is, but carob is super expensive to get. So then you have to find the balance like that.
Like you said, persistent communication.
Persistent communication.
Pushing, and you can match their energy. So if we're outside of McDonald's doing books and people are like, it's rubbish, but I'm going to be eating this and that. I'm like, look, you're going to the pub and getting drunk.
Yes.
You tried a cow urine shot. So just as they come back at them the same energy.
Or you make you instead of telling them it's a cow urine shot, put a name on it and a brand around it and tell them this is made up of disinfectants. And in the ingredients do mention very small quantities of cow urine, which is a disinfectant, like 1% or something. and then mention substances that they like: cinnamon, ginger, cumin, lemon. They're used to that. So you can make such products, innovative products, and you can be a millionaire. This guy who sells yogi tea, yogi tea is such big thing. And what it is, it's just our Vedic teas that he's taken and he's now packaged it and he's selling. Why should devotees not do it? Devotees should also do it from cow products. There are millions of things you can do. You just have to have right brand, right thinking, and right ingredients, and you can do it. Yes, yes. Okay, coming back here to the concept of milk, that milk is always pure. Modern day milk is highly treated. There is no guarantee it is pure. Therefore, there has been a movement towards veganism because people have had side effects from the milk that we get in the shelf on the stores. And those people are not wrong who are following vegan diet. But you know, the problem comes when they say, oh, the milk itself is a problem. The milk is not a problem. This is where we stand our ground. This is where we come into conversation, not an argument, a conversation. We say that we want to have milk, but from the cows who are protected, who are not killed for milk. So we want to drink ahimsa milk. And when you use Sanskrit ahimsa, then they become a little bit, okay, what is ahimsa milk? Then they want to know more about ahimsa. So you have to tell them that, you know, look, cows not naturally give extra milk. They don't give less milk. They naturally give extra milk. And you can take that extra milk provided you have not killed that cow. You have not inseminated that cow with, you know, like worst kinds of chemicals, like what Laveen Prabhu was asking. So all of those things, they cause problems. At least in the temple, we are saying that you bring organic milk to the minimum standard. Don't just bring random milk, because in random milk, the cows have been troubled. You don't know what grass they were allowed to eat, whether the grass was organic or not. You don't know. So at least bare minimum is organic milk. Someone is intolerant with milk, then avoid milk. You know, no problem. Try the milk from different places. If you have luxury money to travel across the globe, go to Africa, go to Brazil, go to India and try the milk there. You know, which is coming directly from the cows. In Vrindavan, there are these ladies who have dedicated their life for the Supreme Lord, who are unmarried, and every night they do kirtan for 1 to 2 hours. And these are all girls, like grown-up girls, young girls. So my daughter and my wife also went with them to do kirtan, and this is just underneath the hill, Mangad or Dangad, the Radharani's hills. So we were fortunate to get their association, and they allowed us to stay with them in the night. And in the night, the people just do kirtan whole night there. Different people. So these girls also, before sleeping, they do kirtan for 1 or 2 hours. And before doing kirtan, they take 1 full glass of milk. My wife saw the glass of milk and she liked it so much because the milk was amazing. She said the milk is amazing. And then with that milk, they just went on and on and on and on. They were not stopping. And when they stopped, some very old Babaji from somewhere, he was singing whole night. Whole night. He was just doing kirtan. And you can see the difference in the kirtan that is done with the heart out of love.
Point that the cow gives more than is needed.
More than is needed.
A very fair point.
Yes.
Some people make the point that the cow is not to be penned up and just be sitting there providing you milk, to be roaming free,
yes,
controlling you, so they should not be controlled. How would you respond to that, Sastri?
Yeah, so that they're right. The cow shouldn't be controlled in one place. The milking time is only 1 hour of 20 minutes in the morning. Rest of the day, cows should be freely walking everywhere. That is the definition of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the place where cows walk fearlessly everywhere.
But Goshalas is animal husbandry where you just keep them penned.
Yeah. In Goshala, you have a lot of cows together, but that doesn't mean that the cows are just locked up there. The cows have a time where they can just be, for a long time, they can just be in the fields. In manner also, they let the cows out. And that was called Gopa Ashtami, which was yesterday, where Gocharan is done, where cows are just let into the fields for a long, long time. But then they have to come back, just like you go to office and then you come back and you have food, you have time. Like that, there is a schedule for the cows. And they have to be with fellow cowlings. And then they can also have a time like 4, 5, 6 hours to just freely wander and eat as much grass as they like. And
So if a cow is in the wild it gives it to his calf, and then the excess milk, there's no one there to take the excess. So what happens with that? Reconstituted into the body? Or?
No, it just drops.
Really?
Yeah, for quite a few cows, it just drops. It becomes they become diseased also if they have to let the milk out.
By itself, it happens naturally.
A lot of the cows they can do that, but I don't know about the Jersey cows like that. But if you just keep the milk, the next day they won't be able to produce more milk because the milk in their udders is already not taken out. So when the udders are full, what happens when your bladder is full? It just no space. It start leaking. So okay, too much time taken on food, but
we didn't speak about buffalo though. We spoke about
buffalo. Yes, buffalo. Okay, thank you for asking that. Buffalo's milk is okay, is to be avoided. Best is to take cow's milk, but buffalo's milk doesn't have negative things in it. A buffalo generally doesn't give so much milk. It's not an animal which will give you like huge quantities of milk. So buffalo milk is also to be avoided. Cow's milk is the only pure.
Camel and lions.
What's that?
Camel and lions.
I don't know what that is.
Camel's
milk.
And lions.
And lion's milk. Lion's milk you can't drink because you have to keep it inside golden pot. You really have to keep the lion's milk inside a golden pot. Otherwise the milk will burn you. Only the cub of the lion can drink lion's milk. It's so acidic. You have to hold it in a golden pot. How do you milk the lion anyways? That was the question. That's the point. Very philosophical. How do you milk lion anyways? Is that mentioned in Vedic scriptures? Yeah. Oh, very nice. And then camel's milk. Again, camel's milk is, it may have medicinal properties. Just as people give arguments that onion and garlic have a lot of medicinal properties. You should eat onion and garlic. But actually, we tell them we'll rather find an alternative to onion and garlic because they will blur your vision, your energy levels, your mind will be shaky. And therefore, US Air Force fighter pilots, they are not allowed to eat onion and garlic before they go on a critical mission. Yes. If you have to be alert, you have to avoid certain foods. And onion and garlic basically pull you into tamas, mode of ignorance, and they blur your judgments. And when you're actually flying and your plane is going completely twirly and your head is shaking, you still have to press buttons. You still have to be able, if you're not there inside fully alert, then you will not be able to do it. It's a tough job.
Onions and milk is probably the worst combination.
Well, yeah, okay. That is a different area. Can you combine milk with other things? Answer is for a lot of the things you should not combine milk with them. Fruits is common example. Banana milkshake, chiku milkshake, whatever else. Generally, that will, in Ayurveda, it is said that take the ingredients in a pure state.
Apart from mango, right?
You can take mango in the milk, yes. Mango milk, but you can't find mangoes here, right? So mango milkshake is fine. But, depending on the type of body also, if the body has been conditioned to take something from the childhood, then, the body is now in those modes. So it can't just resist. So these, all I'm telling you is siddhanta or principles, and principles have to be done against a lifestyle. None of this is like impositions. These are discussions and conversations. People have their own health conditions. People have their own ways of thinking. But I just want to project what is Shastra. Like I stopped taking feta cheese if it was made from goat's milk. After I read, that it's highly karmic to take goat's milk because they naturally, they are not milk givers. They don't give extra milk like that. You're just forcing them to give milk.
So you can't offer that. What is it?
You should not. It's tamasic. It's low mode. Yeah, you can't offer it to Krishna either. Okay, too much milk conversation, but I just wanted to be clear that veganism, where we stand our ground, that we take milk, but we want to take ahimsa milk of where cows are not actually killed. But we have no problems with you not taking the milk because we understand that you could have medical conditions and the milk itself in the West is not perfect. But when you say milk itself is bad, when you say cow is a bad animal, That's where we stand our ground. That's where we give them arguments. And that's where we agree to disagree.
To answer Prabhu's question as well, they're saying about the methane. Now they're waking up in a different way, that the soil is getting eroded away.
Yeah.
They have to have the cows for the cow dung to rebalance. So they're going 360 on their own argument.
Wow. So see, Brandon Prabhu, here Nayan Prabhu has given another argument. He's saying that to counter the methane argument, he's saying that cows, they keep the soil intact because there is a big problem across the world of soil erosion and soil depletion also, right? The quality of the soil is depleting. So it's a big problem, which is, I think there are some numbers to suggest that in coming few years, the quality will be so depleted that the plants will not be able to grow to the standard that they were growing in 50s and 90s. So soil depletion is one of the big problems for sure for World Health, for United Nations and World Health Organization.
You said 40% oil depleted.
40%, my God. So therefore cows, they help protect, they don't let the soil deplete. They keep when cow dung is there, then the microbes are there and the living entities come in the soil, they enrich the soil with oxygen and carbon dioxide. So then and the soil then is enriched basically. Okay, so then foods in the mode of passion, we discussed, which are pungent, dry, burning. I don't think I have to get in details of it. I do want to mention something. It can be a sensitive topic, but I just want to be approaching it with little bit sensitivity. When it says that the food in the mode of passion is excessively hot, dry, pungent, burning, bitter, sour, it doesn't mean bland food. It doesn't mean bland food. Like you cook porridge in a milk and then it's neither sweet and it doesn't have anything. It's like super duper bland. So sugar is the natural situation of the West. Everything is sweet here. What people don't get is the spices. You need spices to trigger the fire of digestion in your belly. And back the whole connection between the West and the East started because of spices. East India Company was a spices company and they wanted spices come from East into the West. So spices are a fundamental portion of it. Now spices are different categories. Oftentimes in the West, we have only seen cinnamon and curcumin and ginger and some of these. And at the max, you see chilies. But there are spices which are in between. So nutmeg, star anise, and there are so many of them. The body needs them. And it actually adds flavor to the food. Not just that, it activates your internals, the fire of digestion. It has potency to rectify the problems of your digestion. So sometimes devotees, when they take food, Krishna Prasad, and they may say, oh, it's too spicy, Prabhu, it's too spicy. Okay, if you can't take that spice, then reduce the shade down, make it one level low. Don't eliminate spices. That is another extreme end. Because if you do eliminate spices, you will see that the food is not actually giving you full nourishment. They are it's like they are the triggering substances. They contain minerals, zinc, manganese, a lot of the substances in them, which basically helps your digestion system come back up. So some spices are needed. I'm again not favoring for very hot food, which burns everything like ears, eyes. But if you don't take even slight degree of spicy food, which is, you can feel some heat, then what will happen is your body will be overtaken by bacteria and viruses. Because this body, it needs to fight back bacteria and viruses, and immune system becomes strong because of these spices. Yes, Brandon Prabhu.
Krishna, I'm sorry to ask another question, but I have two. So when it says hot, does that mean just the heat, or does it mean the spice, like the chili level? And the other question was, when we were talking about this with someone the other day, they had the question of, if we can't have, tea and coffee or onions and garlic, then why can we have sugar, which is seen as also like an intoxicant almost, like.
Yes. Okay, thank you. That is a very pertinent and a relevant question, sugar. But yeah, in here, this hot, this means not the heat, it means the level of chili. like 4 chilies, 3 chilies, 2 chilies, or 1 chili, like that. You see in the menu, right? Those who go to restaurants, they exactly know what I mean because they're smiling here. I go to restaurants, so therefore exactly. So 4 chilies, 3 chilies, they are shown on the menu of Nando's and other places, right? So you can see those things. I don't go to Nando's, by the way. I'm just saying it because I've been to Nando's once, office purposes. Disclaimer. So yeah, so it means not actually the heat. Food should always be hot and fresh, not burning hot, but hot and fresh. And this definitely means. And coming to sugar question, the concept of sugar in the modern day is very highly debated. The Vedic concept is nothing in excess is good. Nothing in excess is good. So if you take sugar, you have to take that in moderation. You have to regulate taking sugar. Anyone taking sugar too much, they will have the effects of the sugar, which is their sexual desires will increase dramatically. And their control on their senses will become weakened. And of course, then there are gross effects, diabetes, blood pressure. You don't want that too. But there are immediate effects and then there are long lasting effects. Then the immune system also becomes weak. Now, having said that, children are allowed to eat sugar. Again, I'm not speaking excessive sugar. This is again a very sensitive and touchy area. Not speaking excessive sugar, but Prabhupada has said, let children eat sugar. Because, children can digest it. They're constantly playing. Like my son, he's constantly active, not sitting in one place, moving the cars here and there, running around. So they can digest that. Young adults can't digest it because we are no longer living in an agrarian society. Our lifestyles are sedentary. So therefore, these concepts of, not too much sugar, they're relevant because they're true. If I don't know if that answers your question. If I was a farmer, yeah, I could take like as much sugar as I want because I have to work whole day in the farm. But like sitting on a computer, no, I can't take it.
I was just wondering, so what makes it in the mode of goodness? And again with the hot with the chili, the hot thing, then if it's good to have the spice, why is it, for example, with more traditional Indian cuisine rather than in the UK temples, why is it like really spicy? And I remember hearing Prabhupada say before in talks that he wants a bit spicy, put more chili in it, or
So Prabhupada was coming from a certain culture, a background, and he had eaten food from that culture from long time. So Prabhupada has taste, but Prabhupada was, also a pure devotee, so he's experiencing all the tastes. Now, because of lack of spices, there have been a lot of health problems in the West, and a lot of people have actually come to this conclusion that they have to take certain spices. And if you go to these Indian shops, a lot of the people who are actually shopping are Western, and the Western shops are selling them same spices at way to increased prices, in a small bottle, and for that small bottle you have to pay. So I think historically, when colonial cultures expanded, they expanded trade, and the trade expansion was mainly in gold and spices, food. Of course, I don't want to touch slavery, but food was the most important, and within the food category, they were amazed by the flavors that spices bring into the culture. And because if body is deprived of something and body gets that, then you can't give it up. That's why chicken tikka masala is Britain's favorite breakfast item, because that is giving them all the spices in them. It's now, yeah, it has taken over the baked beans and no, fish and chips is for food. I'm speaking of breakfast. Breakfast is baked beans, but that is now overtaken by chicken tikka masala.
For breakfast.
For breakfast.
National dish.
National dish, is it? Is it a national dish? I don't know. I was reading.
They need to provide Chicken
tikka masala. But then I was hearing someone and they were telling actually people take this chicken tikka masala in brunch.
Yeah.
In the morning and lunch. They just take and they have completely skipped this baked beans. Yes, Kush Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is
Hare
very
Krishna.
interesting. Thank you. I had a question. So you were speaking about the negative effects of sugar and how it
Yes.
can impact us. So like I was just thinking, we have so much sweets in like ISKCON,
Yes.
like Mangal Aarti sweets and stuff.
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
so it's like, is there a reason why like the
Yeah,
contradiction?
Krishna doesn't get diabetes, right?
Yeah, that's true. But we can though.
We have it.
Yeah,
So you should not take heavy doses, right?
yeah.
But when you have to go out on book distribution whole day, then you can take a gulab jamun in the morning if you want, or after coming back. Because I remember when I was in the ashram, serving the entire day, then my best source of gratification, sense gratification, was in my bunk bed with curtains closed. I would open up my secret small bag, which had this one peda, one Maha peda of the Lord, brown colored one. Everyone likes the brown one, right? So I would secretly eat that before sleeping. It was my full sugar dose, and I was completely transcendental then. And I would wake up immediately at 4:30. They said, don't eat sweet in the night, otherwise you will have problems. Mind will not be stable. You won't be able to wake up in the morning because in the night. But I was tired. I didn't care when it came up to this sweet Mahapeda. So Kush Prabhu, if you have desire to take sweets, then instead of taking sweets outside, take Mahaprasad. Take as many gulab jamuns and rasgullas and pedas as you like. Fulfill your desire, then get diseased, and then you will realize that you should reduce it down a little bit. Then you will come from full to half, and from half to quarter. And at some point in time, you will look at the prasad, you will pay obeisance, you will touch it, put it in your mouth and say, that's it. I'm good. Because Mahaprasad is not just the Mahaprasad that you see and eat. Mahaprasad is also the garland of the Lord. This that we are doing right now is also Mahaprasad of the Lord. Mahaprasad means the great mercy of the Lord. So previously when the body used to allow you, your definition of Mahaprasad is always rasgullas, gulab jamuns, and that milk sweet, the liquid milk sweet, that is full sugar. And I used to take that with great joy. But that was my only reason for coming to the temple, is to get half cup of that milk sweet. And after taking that, you can't even move left or right. You are completely wobbly because it was so amazing, so delicious, but you are intoxicated. You are intoxicated. So yes, people are right when they say sugar is a problem. Sugar is a problem to different categories of people at different ages. A young person can eat certain sugar if they are doing laborious work. My child certainly can eat. But here you have children who are born with certain conditions. Right from their childhood, they have never had any spices. They have never had anything chili like, nothing hot. They have never eaten it. And all they have eaten it is sugar all the time, like cornflakes, cereals, everything has sugar here. So now because they have very unbalanced diet, therefore now they have realized, oh, this is causing distress to our children because their brain capacity is not increasing because of the sugar. And they're becoming dull-headed. So they're seeing the side effects of one specific type of diet, because the diet doesn't have 5 flavors. It's not made from spices. It doesn't have when it is said excessively bitter or sour, but that doesn't mean you don't put anything bitter. You once in a while you have to take Karela, bitter gourd. It's really good for your body, really, really good. Yeah, neem also. That doesn't mean you make bitter gourd every day and offer it to Krishna day in and day out. Krishna will say, oh yeah, give me some sweet also, give me some spice also, give me some. So the food should have this balance. Variety is the spice of life. So you should have these flavors in the food that will make the food. And modern science says the same thing, that the food should contain red color, green color, blue. They're not saying it directly. They're just thinking in terms of chemicals. But there are chemicals even in Spanish chilies, that which are extremely hot. Prabhupada used to, when he was very sick, when he had a congested chest, he would just ask his servant cook I think Yamuna Mataji or someone, to just fry chilies in ghee. Fry chilies in ghee and what is it called? Cumin seeds, like that. And then he would eat fried chili. Because ghee is cooling and chilies are extremely hot, when ghee and chili come together, there is some degree of heat still there in the chili, but it is dramatically reduced. But the heat content will not come in your tongue, but actual heat is retained inside the chili. It will not come in your tongue. You won't feel it so hot, but that heat of the chili is there. The tattva of the chili, the essence of the chili is maintained when you fry it in ghee, because ghee is by nature preserving the qualities of the food. So then when you take this internally, when it gets digested, it releases this heat, and the cough that is stored in your chest, now it starts to melt and it starts coming out of your body. So Prabhupada used to take this chili and ghee, fried chili and ghee, chili fried in ghee basically, when he had too much cough. So Kush Prabhu, hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you for the detailed answer.
No problem.
With regards to the
My
sugars,
pleasure.
so the Brahmanas are allowed because they're in the goodness. The side effect of intoxication or increasing sex desire. Are we saying that because of their elevated position, it doesn't affect them as the same?
Brahmanas are allowed sweets. Where does it say that?
Brahmanas like sweets, no? Like
Brahmanas like sweets. Brahmanas are not allowed. Two different statements.
So I think it may not affect them in the same way as it affects other people in the lower
No,
class.
whoever takes, well, if someone is Atma Vinigraha, self-control is being practiced day in and day out, then they will have less effects of that. But if you take overdose of it in the night, just try it out and you will go bonkers if you take too much sweet. Therefore, devotees don't take sweet in the evenings. Just take it in the afternoon time, take the quantity that your body can accept and then avoid it.
Mosquitoes will come for you as well.
Mosquitoes will come for you as well. Your blood becomes sweet. The mosquitoes will come for you. Okay. Food in the mode of ignorance. Foods which are stale, tasteless, bad smelling, decomposed, consisting of remnants of and untouchable things. I think we discussed about Myanmar. How they were actually rotting the thing in the big drum, and after many days of rotting, it becomes liquidy, and they like the smell of it. Whereas any saintly person will walk from there, they'll vomit it. And also another example was of this devotee who went to China, and they were offered this cake, and the cake had a green layer of cream, and so they ate it, and afterward they realized it was made from crushed grasshopper. So they vomited. So this is all food in the mode of ignorance, because it is not going to uplift your consciousness. And not just that, the modern day people are understanding that it's not about just uplifting my consciousness, it's not uplifting my health, it's not uplifting my gross body. The foods in the mode of ignorance actually take your body down. So therefore, a lot of meat eaters, they turn into partial vegetarians. They give up red meat. World Health Organization says red meat is bad for health. So there are, slowly through realizations, they are coming to this point. And vegan people, they have realized completely that, look, all types of these foods which are made from animals, meat specifically, and then of course they take it to next level about milk and others. But they go to plant-based diet and they immediately see dramatic effects in their body. It's uplifting them.
Because of the spices problem, so many are giving up this veganism, having done it for some time and got a health product, and now coming back to full throttle meat. They're not seeing the gap is because of the spice element.
No, I have not seen anyone complaining about spice, because there are so many vegan products now. There are so many types of burgers. There are so many companies that have come up, and it's really
process. So they're getting sick.
Yeah, package and processing, because they don't know how to cook. That's the problem. I told you, people in the Kali Yuga are lazy and they don't want to cook. Whereas actually, really, if you want to gain wealth in your life, then one thing you should learn is to cook, because that is the real wealth. You should know how to cook good food, whether male or whether female. They should know how to cook simple, good food. Like someone can feed me dal rice for rest of my life. I'm okay. Dal rice is my favorite food, because that is what my mother has been feeding me. And I'm grateful I was born in that family so that I got this sattvic food. A lot of people can eat khichdi the whole of their life. Some people can eat salads whole of their life. I can't take any food which is super cold. Like every time I take super cold food, I get problems. So there are conditioning everyone has, and one has to follow goodness in those conditionings. And when they follow goodness in those conditionings, then they will be able to break through their conditionings, and they will be able to attain higher level of goodness. It's a vicious, no, good cycle. It's a good cycle. I don't know the term for the good cycle. So it's a good cycle, and it's a reinforcing cycle. It will reinforce you to higher states.
One thing that comes up now is this fermented food, because the Western
Fermented food.
industry is really pushing it. Gut bacteria
Yes.
is very good.
Yes.
Is that in the mode of ignorance? How does that
Fermented food is in ignorance.
Kimchi.
Kimchi, dosas, uttapas, South Indian food dosas. You have taken dosas. Everyone wants dosas. Everyone likes dosas, but dosas is cooked properly, but it's fermented overnight. So when you have specific type of skin problems, they ask you not to take dosas. But for South Indians, if you tell them don't take dosas, they will just give everything up. So you have to have dosas for them. Now dosas is not unhealthy for everyone. For a mass variety of people, dosas is healthy actually. But the thing with the dosas is they're cooked. If they are not cooked, that's a problem. So in Jagannath Puri, they don't offer dosas to Jagannath. But in South India, that's the famous food. It's healthy because it's light. Healthier than dosa is idli. Because idli is, you're just warming it up, meaning you're pushing air into the thing and it becomes fluffy. It's light into the body and it goes out quickly. You not in the temple deities, not to the temple deities, but at home, yeah, no problem. Given that it's cooked. So
kimchi and all these like fermented vegetables and
yeah, fermented yogurt is fermented, but yogurt is allowed. Yogurt is not like fermented. You put a culture of yogurt into a milk, and then you leave the culture. So what happens is overnight the culture will there will be more bacteria replication, and so when you are actually taking yogurt, you are eating bacteria. But you said we are vegetarians. But therefore we have to offer it to Krishna before we eat. Because yes, that is true. There are bacteria, there are living entities. When I'm walking here, then so many living entities. Yes, you have a question, Mataji?
No, sorry, please.
When we are walking here, then even in walking, we are killing so many living entities who we can't see actually. Therefore, it is said that we are constantly sinning in the material world. But when you take holy name of the Lord, like even once, when you remember the Supreme Lord even once, when you take name of your spiritual master even once, then all your sins are destroyed immediately. The sins that you do throughout the day, they are destroyed immediately, just by even taking holy name once. But the tendency to sin doesn't go away. Tendency to sin is still there in the heart, in the seed form.
It's pickle though.
Pickle.
The vinegar. Yes, the vinegar.
Vinegar. Oh, you're touching all the topics which I didn't want to touch. I like vinegar, but vinegar is also a little bit rajasic and tamasic.
And yeast, because you said about
And
bacteria.
yeast.
Okay.
And yeast. But devotees eat bread.
Mm.
We eat bread. But the thing is, you can't avoid like fermentation overall. It's not possible because bacteria is everywhere. For you, I mean, overnight yogurt has bacteria in it. Yogurt is one of the main foods. Every time you have upset stomach, you eat yogurt and you will be fine. It's like medicinal. So, there are these. We can take fermented food, but we should not offer certain fermented food to the Lord because they are of lower nature. Like specifically the dosas and uttapams, which are like the favorite food of the South Indians. Now, South Indians will actually kill me for this, but please don't. Yeah.
What about people that India, you say there's no pickle, people don't want to come to the house.
Pickle is not fermented in that sense because you keep it in the sun and then pickles are not generally containing bacteria and then they contain high degrees of salt and sugar. And with salt and sugar, bacteria can't ferment further.
So that's, you can offer that as well to the deity.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
How urine, you did mention, is an antiseptic.
Yes.
So when I used to have cow urine every
Yes.
day in the morning, so one which I did feel is that when I used to swallow, I had this burning sensation.
In the
And
throat,
also
yes.
tasting and smell a bit pungent. So it
Yes.
is falling under the pharmacy?
No,
or-
Mataji. No, it's not. It tastes pungent, but if you read properly, it says excessively pungent.
Yes.
Excessively. It should not be like that. And you should not take go arka directly. You should mix it with water. Yeah. You should mix it. If you have this kind of, it's slightly acidic in nature.
Yeah.
So you know, if you have acid refluxes, then avoid it. Because if you take it in the evening, night time, then you have already eaten something in the afternoon, then the acid reflexes will start to trouble you. Early, that's a good time. Just small quantities, 3 drops, 2 drops, like that. Not like full.
No. The half. You know these.
Yeah, the lids. You can take
lids
half
you can
lid.
take.
Yeah. If you find that, then reduce the quantity because your body type is different. No, Ayurvedic system is every body is different and the medicine has to be made for that body. Western medicine is all the bodies have general tendencies, so we can just make one medicine and one size will fit all. That's not the case with Vedic medicines. So reduce the quantity. Okay, now we come to sacrifices, which was where I was there in the last week, but I wanted to cover milk and foods properly. I hope there will be open questions. You can reach out to me personally if you still have questions. But let's just rush through the remaining portions. Sacrifices. Sacrifices performed according to the scripture. Actually, do you want to take a break, 5 minutes? Or you want to continue? You're okay? Okay. 12:30. Okay. So we continue. If anyone online wants to take a break, please raise your hand and I'll give you a break. So food sacrifices. Sacrifices in the performed according to the scripture as a matter of duty. So sacrifice must be performed as a matter of duty without desire for material results. So there are different mentalities. 2 mentalities are there and they both are extremes and we have to avoid both these extremes. First mentality example is the performance of rituals in temples and churches. Generally, they are performed with the purpose of material benefit, but that is not good in the mode of goodness. This is the first mentality. You go to a church, so I never went to church so much, but once I went to St. Paul's Cathedral and the priest came and, you know, he sang very nicely, said few nice things, and then he kept a basket there for donation and everyone came forward and they all put their money in the basket. Similarly, in the temple, oftentimes you see that the main purpose of the temple, instead of making people Krishna conscious, sometimes just becomes fundraising or making money. Or we want to make more temples. We have this temple, but we want to make, or we want to refurbish the temple. I am not saying that is wrong. I am saying there could be an intention. Charity should not be asked from someone who can't give charity. But you know, if person who is in front and is pushing everyone for a charity, pushing everyone for charity, then that is sinful. If someone can't make a charity, you should not push that person for a charity. This is, yes, Mataji.
And you see that things like festival days when we ask for donation. Is that acceptable or should we not?
No, we can ask for donations, but we should not be pushy. Everyone in this room should distribute 50 Bhagavad Gitas in this book distribution marathon or give me 500 pounds. You should distribute 50 Bhagavad Gitas, yes. Then qualifying statement is if you don't have finances and if we can be of any help or assistance, you can always reach out to this person and speak with us in person. Maybe you can't do 50, maybe you can sponsor 2. Maybe you can sponsor 1, or maybe honestly you are saying that I have no money to sponsor and that's perfectly fine. You can pray for those people who are going out for book distribution. You can pray for people who are constructing the temple, like that. But the charity should not be forced upon people. And sometimes that happens in the temple. But sometimes people feel a lot of pressure because they have a big fat false ego. You know, your next door neighbor has made a charity in the temple. So now you feel pressured. Oh, they have given so much charity. Now I must give. Now I must give also. That should not be the case. And it is also said that if you make a charity with your right hand, then the left hand should not know it. Which means don't tell people about your charity. Don't go about telling the whole world, oh, I donated 100,000 pounds for Mayapur temple. I donated 20,000 pounds for refurbishing our temple. don't take this whole big thing about yourself and go about doing it, because the whole purpose of charity is lost.
This is what this telling. Sometimes it's not false ego or showing off. Sometimes it's to encourage or inspire.
Yeah, you are encouraged by others to do it. And
tell a close friend, like,
yeah,
I did this, then he's like, oh, you did? Okay, I will also go to it. So you're inspiring.
Yeah, inspiration is not a problem. Charity must be done even by the best of the souls, Krishna says in next chapter. Even by the accomplished souls, charity must be done. Those who are siddhas, for them, they also have to do charities. So charity must be done by everyone. Sometimes you need some inspiration. And sometimes maybe you need a push. Because sometimes you are too stingy as a human being, You have the wealth, but you are just hiding it behind. Even making like a pound donation, you can do that. Just the very act of making that £1, even though you may have 1 million, but you want to make even £1, just that very small act, it will basically open your heart up. So therefore charity must be done. But now we are not speaking of charity, we are speaking of sacrifice. So first sacrifice is like this, that people are actually for performance of rituals in the temple, they are performed for the material benefit, but that is not in the mode of goodness. If you just do Sunday prayers, or if you just come to the temple that, oh Prabhu, we have to do Sunday feast because so many people come on Sundays and they make donations. And I'm telling you this because there are temples like that who don't have a lot of followers coming to them, and they do think like that. When they have very less incoming people, they are thinking that, okay, how can we serve the incoming people nicely so that they can give us some donation. So the sacrifice that they do then of cooking food for everyone, but their whole intention is completely impure, in the mode of ignorance.
My son will pass his exam or something like that.
Yeah, that is another, that is passion and ignorance. Oh, I will do this sacrifice. I'm going to come and cook on this Sunday for everyone. And by blessings of all the devotees, I will achieve my material benefit. Still higher, because if they have come to Krishna, but still in the mode of passion. So that is one mentality. Another mentality, worship for economic benefit is not recommended in scriptural injunction. So you worship the Supreme Lord for economic benefit or some benefit from the Lord. Okay, I'll worship, I'll go to the temple, I'll cook, I'll do some service, and in the process, I'll get something. Oftentimes, young students come, they think, okay, not speaking of others, speaking for myself. When I first came to ISKCON, I thought I'll go in there and I'll network and then I'll create my own business. Because there are a lot of people there who are, they're knowledgeable people. It seems there are doctors, scientists in this community. It seems that there are people who are from all sorts of backgrounds. So, this my understanding was, I'll go to the temple, make many friends, and I'll make use of my friends to achieve my ends. I'll create a business. And similarly, other people think, oh, we'll get a job in Govindas maybe, or somewhere else. We can survive and sustain. So maybe intentions not pure, but they have come to the purest source, Krishna. So they will be benefited. But, it's still not in the mode of goodness.
Is there a differentiator or comparison between sacrifice and charity?
Yes.
Is one higher than the other, or they're equal?
No, they are all in the equal platform, but sacrifices generally means some process that a specific institution does, or specific religion or a specific part does. Like if you go to church or Christianity, then you must come to church every Sundays. And you must pray to the Lord every day. You must chant on rosary beads, even them. And in Islam also, you do certain things. You have to do kalma or something. So there are these practices, and these are your personal sacrifices that you want to do.
So if someone says, I'm going to do one or the other, I'll either sacrifice or I'll give in charity. Is it equal weight across whichever one you do?
No, you have to.
More significant.
This is explained by Krishna so that someone can understand what is the faith of the person. So he is telling that you have to touch these 4 areas to see what is their faith. If they are not doing any sacrifice, that means they are bhogi. Then they will become rogi. Bhogi means one who wants to enjoy. Rogi means one who is diseased. Those who wants to enjoy, they become diseased.
What if it's not balanced? Like someone's doing a lot of charity, but
yes,
no sacrifice, or the other way around.
Still, if they're not doing sacrifice, but they're doing a lot of austerities, tapasya, then you can still see that what mode of ignorance or passion or goodness they are doing their austerities in. They are not touching sacrifice, so there is no sacrifice. They are only doing austerity. That means essentially this person is after some power, because he's wants to do austerities, and maybe he wants to prove a point, or maybe gain bodily strength, maybe gain beauty. I know a lot of Matajis, they do fasting and not just to please Krishna but to gain beauty, because fasting gives you beauty. It's an indirect outcome of fasting. And this is not just for Matajis, also for Prabhujis. Otherwise, I'll be labeled as a feminist again. I'm not a feminist. So essential idea is that you can see what these activities are. And if you want to then see as a broader religion in Christian, because there are 16, 22 or 33 types of Christianity. If you take one such Christianity out and then put Christianity across these four things, then you get a general kind of a sense where this dialect of Christianity falls under, where this dialect of Judaism falls under, where this dialect of Islam falls under. So you can have a general level of understanding, but then you must go individual level and find out what is the faith of the individual within this general level of understanding. So one of the exercises and homeworks I wanted you all to do is actually give you a table and ask you to populate it for me. But I'm not going to do it because it could become very controversial, because I can't mark whether it is right or wrong. So I couldn't mark you basically there. So passion, sacrifices in the mode of passion, for the sake of pride, and with the expectation of material benefits in this world or elevation to the higher planets. A lot of devotees come to the temple, and rarely you will find some people who are really focused on liberation. For everything that matters to them is liberation, because they are frustrated in this material world with electricity bills or girlfriends or boyfriends or so many things. They just want liberation. I have met such people. They just come to the temple, and when you start speaking to them, then they say, oh, he is my source of liberation. He is going to take me out of this cycle of birth and death. He is outside the system. They know some philosophy. He is going to. So they focused on liberation. So that is also in the mode of passion. Not necessarily Mayavadi, because Mayavadi is not everyone is just always seeking liberation. Some of them are philanthropists. Some of them are in the mode of goodness. But passion is coming because they are focused that they want it and they want to do it and they will get it. And, it is their doing, as if the whole world will move according to them.
I've seen a lot of yoga communities that people have this coming.
Yeah, because they have been taught wrong. But I see a lot of yoga communities are taught properly also. Okay, sacrifices in ignorance, sacrifice performed without regard to directions of the scripture, without distribution of prasadam. This is very controversial and sensitive topic. People have house programs, and at the end of the program, the people who came to hear got actually nothing from them, meaning they heard the philosophy, but at the end of the philosophy, they all went back home. You have to give them some token of prasadam. Cookie, if you have nothing, if you are really poor, give them a glass of water. Give them lemon juice. You can give them bananas, fruits. You can give them, buy lemons, put some sugar in water, salt in water, make a lemon juice, like a sharbat. You can always give something prasad which is offered to Krishna. If you don't give prasad and you have a discourse and everything, then people might actually not be benefited from it. That is the potency of prasad. So after this session, please cook prasad at your homes and please eat properly. So I really want you all to understand Bhagavad Gita. Please cook some prasad and offer it to Krishna and then eat. And without chanting Vedic hymns, if your sacrifice is without chanting Vedic hymns, then the sacrifice is not going to bear fruits. So the Vedic hymns is essentially the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When a lot of the demigods in India are worshipped, whoever the demigod be, at the very end, they will sing this mantra. But they will sing it other way around. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Because originally the mantra was put like this, but it was put by Smartha Brahmans. It was mentioned like this in Upanishads. But the Smartha Brahmans didn't want anyone else to chant this mantra. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, okay, you don't want people to chant this mantra. So he reversed the mantra. He said, Hare Krishna, and says, now this is a different mantra according to you. Now let everyone chant this mantra. So basically, the idea is that there should be some chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. If the person you are doing the session with doesn't understand Vedic philosophy and you don't want to, and you're just trying to set up a relationship with them, then at least in your own mind, you can chant the Hare Krishna mantra for them and for the gathering. And then without remuneration to the priests. So if you're doing some sacrifice, then you have to give some remuneration to the priests. If there are priests who are doing the sacrifice, you must give something to the priests. It should not be the case that they are not being given any monetary benefit. When this says remuneration, it literally Prabhupada translates into money. You should give some money to them because priests also have their need and you must give them some money.
Why is this in ignorance? These seems like the mode of goodness things to do.
No, without remunerations. That's why in ignorance, people are Krishna. So people invite and do sacrifices, but then they don't give any money to anyone. They think, oh, this sadhu is maintained by ISKCON, and ISKCON doesn't give anything to them. So you should give them food and you should give them some money. And on top, you can give them some gifts like a shawl or some cloth or something simple like a bottle of ghee or very simple. Like they will do yagya again, they will need ghee, they will do yagya and they might need some wooden sticks, and give them simple things. And without faith. So, you have to have faith if you're doing some sacrifice. If you don't have faith, then you should not do sacrifice. Any questions on sacrifices before we go on to austerity? Without faith, there is no point. And to stress that point, I'm going to tell you a pastime from Bhagavatam about Indra, which will come under austerities and charity. Okay, no questions. Does anyone want break? No? Okay. So I move ahead. Austerity types. So austerity of speech, mind, and body.
These sacrifices and austerities, are they very distinct or do they very not merge, but very in close coordination?
No, they're distinct.
Okay.
Sacrifice is distinct to tapasya. Tapasya and sacrifices mostly relate to your day-to-day activities or process of achieving the supreme. And austerities relate to what you're willing to give up. While you're doing sacrifice, you may not have to give up some. Sacrifice literally means giving up, sacrificing something. But the sacrifice in the proper Sanskrit context also means what activity, day-to-day life you are doing to actually attain God or a process of attaining God. And austerity is what tapasya you're doing. If you have to do some austerity. So in Christianity, you have Lent. That is an austere period for them. In Islam, you have this Eid, where they kill the sheep. That is kind of an austerity for them.
So for us, would Ekadashi go under the category of sacrifice or austerity?
Austerity.
Not sacrifice.
Not sacrifice. Because sacrifice is what? Sacrifice is you coming to temple every Friday, doing pujari service systematically for a long period of time. That is your sacrifice. Sacrifice is you going out on the streets and doing Harinam.
So our service is our sacrifice.
Your service is your sacrifice. Your process of attaining God is your sacrifice. Your yagya is your sacrifice. What yagya are you doing? What are the different types of yagya you do? And then there is austerity, and austerity is of three types: austerity of body, austerity of mind, and austerity of speech. And Krishna is beautifully explaining. I was waiting to come to this point because what he's just said in this verses is what Socrates also was explaining to people. How many of you know Socrates 3-filter test? Have you heard of it before? No. Socrates 3-filter test. You can Google it. Socrates 3-filter test. And he says that now I might not remember it exactly, but let me just put it. He says that if you are about to speak to me something, is that something that you're about to speak to me real or false? If that is false, there is no point speaking to me. I don't want to hear it. If something that you're about to speak to me is real, is it about me, or is it going to impact me beneficially, or is it not going to impact me beneficially? If it is not going to impact me beneficially, don't speak to me. So now if whatever you're about to speak is real and it is going to impact me beneficially, then lastly tell me, is it? So first, whether it is truth, then it is beneficial, and then there is one last item also, where he says that I actually forgot. I can't remember exactly. No, truthful, beneficial, and pleasing. I think it is pleasing, but someone can Google up Socrates 3 filter test and they will know it. So that, so basically you don't strike conversations with people if you don't come in under these 3 conditions. So Krishna says exactly the same thing. And Socrates, I guess, was reading Bhagavad Gita. So here, he's speaking austerity of the body. Devadvija Guru Pragna Pujanam Socham Arjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsacha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. Sharir is an important Sanskrit word. You should remember Sharir. Sharir is also called Deha. Deha, Sharir, they are all same words relating to the body. So Shariram Tapa Uchyate. So the Uchyate means the topmost. So what is the topmost tapa of the Sharir, of the body? Krishna says Deva Dvija Guru Pagna, worship of the Supreme Lord. Deva, worship of the Supreme Lord. Dvija, worship of the Brahmanas. Worship of the Guru. Worship, respect of worthy superiors like parents and great grandparents, grandfathers, grandmothers, maternal grandfathers, mothers, like that. I have qualified it with the word worthy because they might actually push you away from Krishna consciousness. You should still respect them, but you might not actually worship them. If you have a Vaishnav grandparents, children, people who are elder to you, then they are worthy because they are Vaishnav. So you can respect them, and you can respect them with awe and reverence in a kind of a mood of worship.
Worship is a strong word. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I always thought that worship is strictly for God, but respect and appreciation is for all the other categories.
No, worship is for God, but after God, all the people of the God must also be worshipped, respected and worshipped. So Amrish Maharaj, he first worshipped the Supreme Lord, then he worshipped the Brahmanas, and then he worshipped the Siddhas. Those people who are perfectly situated, the Siddhas, and Brahmanas, after that. So he worshipped all of them after worshipping the Supreme Lord. So like that, you can worship the Supreme Lord so nicely on the altar. Then what happens is you deal with the devotees who are there in the pujari really badly. You have a fight with them. But then the point is they are also worshipable because they are also engaged in pure devotional service. If you have to go to the spiritual world, then you have to be able to think in your mind that all of these people are worshipable. They are worthy of my worship.
Devotees are more than the deities.
No, that is not true. They are not more than the deities. No. They are worshipable, but they can never be more than. Krishna is asamurdhvatva. Asamurdhva means no one is equal to or greater than him.
I was just thinking, that verse Tadiya in that one.
Yes. Okay. So these are the people you can worship and you can respect. And this will be austerity of the body. So if you want to be austere, do this. Worship your spiritual master. Worship the Brahmanas. By worship, you means following the instructions. Worship doesn't mean you just now start taking the puja plate with you and start, doing aarti of them. It literally means you follow their instructions and try to follow in their footsteps. Don't imitate them. If you imitate them, you will be in trouble because they are different personalities. But you should follow in the footsteps.
They have given specific instructions.
Yes.
How do you differentiate between following in their footsteps and imitating?
So an alert person will ask them, will establish a communication. So a sign of a really advancing devotee is that they will have a lot of questions. If you don't have, like you've just asked me a very good question. So if you ask, now someone told you, Prabhu, can you pick up this Maharaj who is coming from the airport? He's coming. So then, yeah, you've heard that on phone and that's it. And then next day morning you wake up, what time is he coming? Which airport is he coming from? Can you please message me? You're texting frantically because now you're in the situation, you're driving car, you don't know where to go, which airport to go. Then you have to park your car in certain airports. There are certain parking restrictions. So a good devotee is one who gets into nitty-gritty details of asking question of what is to be done, what is not. When Prabhupada was doing yajna, he told his disciples to bring bananas. And they chopped the bananas and brought it to Prabhupada. But this banana was meant for a fire sacrifice. So it has to be a full banana, unpeeled full banana. They peeled it and they chopped it and they brought it in a fruit ball like a fruit salad. And so Prabhupada was very angry. Prabhupada was very angry. And one newbie, a newcomer, he saw Prabhupada very angry and Prabhupada was chanting and he said, Swamiji, you are feeling angry. Why don't you chant Hare Krishna and be happy? And he was a complete newcomer. And Prabhupada took it completely seriously. He said, yes, Krishna is speaking through him. And he said, you are right. And Prabhupada started to chant Hare Krishna. He was already chanting with his beats. But Prabhupada became angry because, for service of Krishna, the facilities were not proper. That was his reason. It was not his personal reason. So, then he started to chant. So this is the point that you should ask questions to people. That is a sign of intelligence, and that will save you from committing offenses. It's called clear communication. If there are no questions, when you are young, you have no questions. Someone asks you service and you say, yeah, I will do it. And then when you start to do it, you don't realize what you have gotten into. So this is in the mode of passion. Mode of goodness is you ask questions, you get realization, then you tell the person, 1 minute, let me just confirm back if I will be able to do the service or not. And in that way, you think through the situation. Okay, it's on Tuesday. On Tuesdays, I'm not there. I'm already in this service. I've already committed to someone. I can't do that. Then you analyze everything. Then you go back to the person in peace and tell that I won't be able to do it. My sincere apologies. Because you have asked good questions. Relevant good questions, yeah. And simplicity. Keep yourself simple. So I can't get into details of simplicity when it comes to body because, simplicity could be different to different persons. Generally, men like to be very handsome. They like to be groomed. I'm not saying don't be groomed. Be presentable. The body is meant to be able to be present to others. It's meant for others' pleasures. It's not meant for your own pleasure. So therefore, you have to present it to Krishna. You have to present it to other people, other devotees. So keep yourself in decent shape. Just groom yourself, nothing more. But if someone doesn't groom themselves properly and they are not causing distress to anyone, they are just themselves and they're not causing distress, and they're just simply without causing offenses, without causing this, they exist and they are devoted to the Lord. That is not a problem either. Don't be smelly, don't be like that. Similarly, it goes for female women. I can never win this conversation with my wife where I say there is no need to, do any makeup. What is the point? Be simple. And she tells me, what are you speaking? You're speaking to women. So my philosophies don't work. So, I've given up. I can't say anything. Women like to dress up, and I read Srimad Bhagavatam, and in Srimad Bhagavatam also, when Mother Parvati had to go because her father was doing this big gathering and function, then all the ladies were decking themselves up. And, she was seeing them all going through celestial. So Prabhupada mentions that women like to be a little bit decked up. It's not because they want to be frivolous or anything. It's just that, that's the nature of a woman. They like to be presented nicely. Don't overdo it. Still maintain the decent boundary. Okay, celibacy.
It goes back to what you were saying before, balance, right? Like
Yes.
you're shaving twice up and down on Ekadashi, then it's like some balance.
Yeah, balance, exactly. Keep the balance. And everyone will, by their time, by their maturity, know the balance. Celibacy. He should not indulge in sex outside of married life. This is called celibacy. So celibacy is not just for brahmacharis, it's also meant for grihasthas. You marry, whatever you want to do, you do in marriage, and then don't do anything illicit, and if you just do that, you are still classified as a brahmachari in our tradition. In some of the other traditions, that's not even allowed. Only in our tradition you can have this kind of a celibate life, and it's coming from the Shastra. Okay, then what is austerity of speech? And this is my favorite verse. This is Socrates' 3-filter test. Anudvegam karam vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat swadhyaya abhyasanam cheva vakmayam tapa uchyate. Vak means words. So here anudvegam, an means do not, udvega means agitate. Udvega means agitate, and anudvega means one who does not agitate. So words that do not agitate, but at the same time satyam means truth. So words that are truthful. Priya, which means they should be dear, meaning words that are pleasing to hear. And hitam, they should be of benefit to the person who you are about to speak. If it's of no benefit to them, then why speak? And swa adhyaya. Swa means self, adhyaya means study. So self-study of Vedic literatures. This is austerity of speech. If you want to be really austere, some people, they actually don't speak to others because they're doing something called mauna. Mauna means they'll just be quiet all the time. They like, because by being quiet, you build up too much energy inside yourself just by being quiet. Your mind is blabbering, but you're not letting your mouth being opened. This is tapa, this is austerity, and it will build up energy inside you. And when the energy builds up and your mind is not in control, then what will happen? The mouth will open up because you have built up that energy. So you have to preserve and find a balance where you are actually not, you are not speaking too much and you're not speaking useless stuff, unnecessary stuff. Just speak. Don't be like not speaking. Speak, but speak something that is useful, beneficial. But so swa adhyay or reading of self-study of the Vedic literatures, if you're studying every day, if you're reciting Vedic, then your capacity to speak will be almost gone. For the rest of the day, you will be very quiet as a human being. Because for 1 to 2 hours, you have just recited something. Yes, Mataji.
On these retreats where they don't speak for things like 10 days.
Oh,
so
Vipassana and other things.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously for us, because we're traveling, we can't do that anyway.
Yes.
So in general, would you say that those things aren't recommended?
Well, if for people who are generally materialistic and have never experienced what it means to be quiet, when the mouth is kept quiet, then they see the mind speaking. For current life, they have never seen the speech of mind because they have been speaking with their mouth all the time. When you close the mouth, then you are able to see how much disturbing the mind is. So they need that experience. So it's no harm in them going like that. But for devotees, we speak of Krishna. We don't speak unnecessarily. So it's not a problem. So swa adhyay or reading of the scriptures is extremely important. And abhyasa means regular practice, meaning every day. People take a Brahman initiation and a Brahmana is supposed to read Vedic literatures. If someone's not reading Vedic literatures but they are still Brahmana, then in Brahmana there are different classes or categories of Brahmanas. There is something called a Shrotriya Brahman, which those Brahmans which always constantly listen. The top class Brahman is one who is constantly studying, reciting, and constantly in touch with the Lord. But those Brahmanas who are not actually reading Vedic literatures every day, but just carrying on the Brahminical practices, they are considered to be very low class Brahmanas. So they don't get Brahmanatva or the power of a Brahman or a Brahminical power. They get protection from the Lord as a Brahman. They can do service. They can, over a period of years, build up their piety. But to gain Brahminical prowess, then you should you have to do austerity with the body, mind, and speech, all three. And the austerity of the body is you have to start worshipping the Supreme Lord, which a lot of you are pujari. You have to worship the spiritual master and other Brahmanas, bare minimum. And with the austerity of speech, don't unnecessarily speak. Speak useful stuff, ask questions, and just speak which is needed. And then you have to also study Vedic literatures. That will actually make your speech perfect. I can blabber so many things. I know from last 4 or 5 years, I have had more meaningful interactions with people because I'm trying always to speak directly from Bhagavatam, directly from Bhagavad Gita. Because if I want to speak something that my mind says, then you will not take me seriously. Because my mind can concoct anything, is rascal. It will trouble me. It will concoct, it will run everywhere, and it will never stay on the topic. Mind has a projection, and this projection is a problem for the mind. Mind will project what it wants and what it doesn't want. And every conversation that you do is mixed with this projection. What you want, what you don't want. If you want something nicely, then your speech will change. Your tone will change. Your content will change, what comes out of your mouth, because the heart will perceive what the mind is projecting, and the heart will then speak according to that. But when you're speaking scriptures, then your heart wants something, your mind is projecting something, but what you are speaking is not your own. What you are speaking is someone else's. Then the problem is, then the heart realizes, okay, you want this thing, but the Shastra says this thing. So the mind becomes purified and the heart becomes purified. Therefore, you should speak Shastra. So then slowly, the purification process happens, and you do this austerity, and with austerity comes power. Then people see that, okay, he's developed some Brahminical qualities. Then people will start respecting that physical figure because of their austerities, not because of anything else. So therefore, it's extremely important to read scriptures and do abhyasa, or read it regularly. It can't be stressed any further. It's just so important. If you are planning to be a Brahman initiated, if you're planning to be a devotee Vaishnav, and you want to do austerity of speech, do Swadhyaya and do it regularly, daily.
Like Brahman, they're going to weddings, the funerals, and just doing their thing.
Yes.
If they're not at home spending a little bit of time reading Bhagavatam or something like that.
There you go.
That's kind of like what you're saying?
Yes. So, the very good point. Nayan Prabhu said that there are a class of sadhus or pandits who go to different homes to do functions, birthday parties. They will do some yagyas there. And, they just speak mantras full speed. But if they don't read Srimad Bhagavatam at their homes, then there will be no connection with the mantras. And so therefore, they will not have full potency. For someone to be fully potent, they should do Swa Adhyaya, means self-study. Self-study. And regularly. Prabhupada on austerity of speech, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his student. This may sometimes agitate the mind of his students. Okay? Just now we said Krishna is saying that, don't speak something which is harsh. But here Prabhupada is saying that the duty of a guru is to actually speak something which will shake the student and will make them do something proper. Because otherwise you will be in the slumber. So they don't hesitate to speak sometimes harshly to you. That doesn't mean that spiritual master is always harsh with you. There are extremes, and there are, even between extremes, there are intermediates. And even the intermediates within are very interesting in this case. Sometimes sometimes the so-called spiritual masters are harsh with you when they want to get things done from you. And sometimes they are sweet to you again when they want things get done from you. I'm calling so-called because they are not practiced spiritual masters. So spiritual master must see where the student is in the spiritual journey, and when they see that the student is actually not progressing, then they have to speak harshly. Like Dhritarashtra, who was the father of the Kauravas, and his brother Vidura. When all the battle of Mahabharata had finished, then Dhritarashtra was still staying with Pandavas. And, he was not going away. He was not going to forest, not doing any austerity. So his brother Vidura, only for his sake, came from pilgrimage abruptly, stopped his pilgrimage, came to him. And on one day, he just scolded him that you are living like a dog. These people, Pandavas, they have killed your sons and you are still living with them. And Bhima, he throws food at you because this Dhritarashtra, he wanted to crush Bhima, and Dhritarashtra had great strength. And Krishna knew this, that Dhritarashtra wanted to kill Bhima. So when the battle was finished and the Pandavas came back to take blessings from Dhritarashtra, then, when Bhima came, Krishna said, don't, Bhima, you don't go ahead. Put an iron form of Bhima in front of Dhritarashtra. So an iron idol of Bhima was made, very thick and fat iron. And when Dhritarashtra, he hugged, he basically crushed that iron. That powerful was Dhritarashtra, because he had saved strength from all of his life. He basically crushed the entire iron, and the whole world could see how much hatred he had for Bhima, because Bhima had actually killed his son Duryodhan. So now, in spite of all of this, everyone knew that, so Bhima would never go close to Dhritarashtra. If he had to give food to him, then he would throw like a dog. You throw something at a dog, so Bhima would throw plate in front of Dhritarashtra. So then Vidura came and said, oh, my brother, you are staying just like a dog. You don't understand that spiritual life is important. You are staying in the house of the murderers of your sons. You have lost your path completely. And those harsh words really struck chord with Dhritarashtra, and that night he just walked out of his home, went to forest and started doing tapasya and achieved perfection. So sometimes the spiritual master has to be harsh according to the student. And you can only be harsh if you have invested in student. If someone comes today fresh and they start shouting at you, you will say, what kind of this person is this? A spiritual master first builds relationship with you over many years. They invest in you so much. So when they shout at you, you don't feel bad, or you feel bad, but you come back to the same spirit. Just as my son, now I spend so much time with him, loving him. If he hits his sister and I go back at him and shout at him, then he knows that he will weep, and after sometimes he'll come and say sorry to me and try and hug me back. Why? Because there is so much deposit of affection and love. So that is missing in the modern day, and people just start to chastise each other because they think we are spiritual masters of everyone. On Twitter, everywhere. So you can't criticize anyone like that. So Prabhupada says such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. So, if those are not my students, that means I have not invested in them. I have no relationship with them. I don't need to instruct them. My instruction is not unnecessary. My instruction is for purpose, for benefit of my students, and only when it is needed. They take the karma as well. Yes. So one should not talk nonsense. Process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. If you can't back up what you're saying, there is no point, because there is no guarantee you're saying as it is or not. That's why Swadhyaya is so important. Reading books every day is so important, because you should be able to back it up. Oh no, Krishna said something. Initially you will say, you don't remember where Krishna said, but you will have, Krishna said this like this. Then over a period of years, you will find out where Krishna said, and you will be overjoyed. Oh no, he said this in 9th chapter. Then when you quote this to other people, no, he said it in 9th chapter. They go back and they find out. Then they respect you, because they see that this person doesn't just speak like wishy-washy, and he is backing it up with proper Shastric evidence. That's what Prabhupada is also saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. You don't get into fights and arguments like what you see like Jehovah's Witness, or there's Islamists on the street. And sometimes also I see Christians, and rarely Hare Krishnas don't get into fight, because we are trained like that. But Jesus is the only way, and then Islamists will fight with other Islamists, because those categories, they don't accept each other as Islams. So there is no point in such talks. It has to be pleasurable to the ear.
That part with Shastra, that's also transparency, right? In the sense that, because you're giving the source.
Exactly.
You're not posing yourself to
As the
authority or some smart guy.
Yes, you're not posing a very good point. Yeah, you're not posing yourself as some smart guy. You're taking a humble position. Saying, look, I didn't say this. It is there in the scripture, and I'm speaking only of the scripture. So if you feel that you have heard something amazing, it's not because of me. It's because of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, or it's because of the spiritual master, because the moment I think that it is because of me, that's when I fed the bad dog in me. That's where the ego becomes thicker. And the whole purpose of chanting and everything is to actually make this layer thinner.
You can research it. investigate further. They don't have to take your word for it. They can just check the source.
Yes, exactly. Austerity of mind. This is also extremely beautiful. Says manah prasada saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhavasham shuddhir iti etat tapo manasam uchyate. Prasada means satisfaction or satisfied mind. Manah prasada or satisfaction of the mind is saumyatvam. Saumyatvam means gentle. Saumya means gentle, soft or pleasant or calm. So Prabhupada says it should be without duplicity towards others. When you have duplicity towards others, then inside you are not calm. You are thinking of manipulation. You are not pleasant either. You know, you might be pleasant externally, but internally you are not pleasant. Yes, Mataji.
So what about when you don't get on with people, but you need to be polite or what have you? So there's an element of duplicity in that.
Yes, yes.
How do you deal with that?
Yes, so very good question. You have to deal with people who you don't get along with. And just to get along with them, you have to be, you know, like a little bit manipulative in the way you speak, diplomatic at times. And that is perfectly fine because you are keeping peace. If your peace is not maintained, mind will be even further disturbed. To prevent it from mass disturbance, you are keeping the conversation diplomatic. But that should not be your nature. That should not become your nature. You can always speak back to the Lord and say that, look, Lord, I was not being honest when I was speaking with this person, or I was being a bit diplomatic. I am sorry. So that should be your internal state.
Hi Krishna, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, Harini Mataji.
Yeah, like if you are a project manager, for example, and you have, you know, you can have a preaching center or temple president, and so you have to be nice with everyone, or you know that that the person, you know, keep serving the project or keep serving the temple. Is it duplicitous to do that?
Is it duplicitous to do that? It is duplicitous to do that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that you said yes.
Yes, I'm saying it again. Yes, it's on record.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna.
It's to do with your point earlier about sambandha. It's all to do with sambandha.
Yeah, sambandha, if there is no relationship with the person, then you can't change the person. But to keep the major peace, you have to be diplomatic sometimes. And when you are diplomatic, and that is not your natural nature, then the people in front of you will know it immediately. Oh, this guy is being diplomatic, is being manipulative. Because manipulation and diplomacy can be easily spotted out by a practiced eyes. So now they will see the diplomacy, and they will, if they are mature, then they will see, oh, they are being diplomatic so that they want to prevent this. And they don't want to have the same problem again. But if they are immature, then they will take your diplomacy negatively. And they will think, oh, they wanted to, you know, for their own benefit, they wanted this, or they wanted to use me, or they wanted to, whatever, you know, you feel that other person is wrong, or you feel that other person is being diplomatic. Diplomacy in general is not good, is not going to help, but it's a unavoidable beast that you have to have skills in if you are working with devotees, if you're working. But with devotees over a period of years, when you become very humble and soft and simple, you just approach them very direct and very straight in a humble-hearted fashion. The only beat to diplomacy is humility. Because when you are humble, you show the world that you are at fault, and you know, you're not trying to cheat anyone, and you tell them honestly, this is what I want, this is there in my heart, I don't want to be false as a human being, I don't want to be a crooked person, and I'm just presenting my heart, and I'm telling you these are my frailties. Now the problem is, when you actually expose yourself out like this, there will be people who will pounce on you, and they will dissect you out completely, because they're like Kshatriya types, or, you know, animalistic behavior, conditioning, karma, whatever you call it. They will basically make use of your shortcomings, and they will kill you further down, and you will feel even bad. So humility has to be, you can't be humble in front of a lion. If you are humble in front of a lion, then they will chew you up. So you need to know what is the person and who you are dealing with. And when you know who's the person and who you're dealing with, then you have to understand that with this person, humility will not work. For majority of the devotees, humility will work because they are sane in nature. But with some people, humility may not just work. So you have to be diplomatic and you have to avoid. It's called diplomacy with strength. So they have to see that you are strength and they can't just come and eat you up. But at the same time, there is persistent communication with them. So they know that this is the point you're trying to get across to them. And, they should not take this as weakness of yours. So you have to project some strength. And to do all of this for a natural devotee is hard work. It's hard work because it's artificially done. To do something artificially, it's hard work. Naturally, your position is to be humble and straightforward and simple. But with certain persons, you can't be simple, humble, and straightforward because the problem is that they will take you other way around.
Sometimes, like in an institution, people are diplomatic in the sense that if a large audience come on a festival day, you don't want to offend.
Yeah.
If it's just in the morning time, it's our own family type devote, then you can just be a bit more straightforward.
Yeah, not with family, but with brahmacharis, yes.
Yeah.
Because they are here in a different purpose. You can just be more straight. Yeah, you're right. According to situation, people, circumstances, you have to, but it should not be your everyday job. Now this is afternoon, I deal with this people like this. Now it's a different mask up that will make you like you've seen that character mask, the green man. You'll put up those masks and you will be with a lot of things with you to solve the problems. He always solves the problem. Look at him. Once he wears the mask, he solves the problem, right? This is what they are projecting. This is what happens to us. We put on masks to solve the problems. But actually, we are making ourselves really bad internally.
Yeah. What if you do it not for your own benefit, because that's duplicitous. If you do it for Krishna in service, like I've seen TPs be very diplomatic with audiences,
yes,
to get them to not waste prasadam.
Yeah,
to purify them a little bit. And
And
this and that, for a higher purpose.
Yes, but that is not necessarily diplomatic.
Okay.
That's actually being straightforward and telling them, oh, you're such a nice person, because they are not able to listen to you. You're trying to drop their filters down so that they can actually get the point across. The biggest problem is to get your point across, you have to first get the filters down. Otherwise, there is no learning. And that is the hardest element of learning. It's basically human transformation. And to transform someone, you have to know how thick the false ego is. And you have to work around the false ego of the person to finally get the point across. But in workplace, that's not the problem. They're going to cut through your false ego. Yeah, or you don't get paid. Simple. So when the boss says something, you have to hear it. And you can whine and do whatever bitch behind. But when the boss says, you have to do it because in the position of power, in the position of authority. So temple presidents and others are also in the position, they can say it directly, but maybe that will be too hurtful. And you will say, oh, I didn't have such expectations out of a devotee. How come a devotee is treating me like this? Okay, because he's not paying you, so you're not going to listen anyways. So now they have to be at least diplomatic so that they can get the message across. Otherwise, you're not never ever going to change or never ever going to do things. At the same time, they should not make people being used up. That is the most important thing. If people start to feel that, then they see the diplomacy and then they understand that this is not necessarily Krishna. That feeling of being used is not good feeling, and it is an internal feeling. It's coming from a root source because it's not a projection. It's someone is experiencing that and is going through that, and they have not had a conversation with the temple president or whoever the offending devotee is. There are always two sides to it. Okay, coming back to the shloka. Mana prasada saumyatvam. Saumya means gentle, soft, without duplicity towards others. Monam, gravity. So monam, which means there has to be some gravity of thought. You are quiet, but inside you are thinking, oh, this morning I'm going to eat rasgulla, then I'm going to go here I'm going to go Holland and Barrett, then I'm going to go shopping here. So you are quiet, but inside what you are speaking is so shallow and so dirty that actually it doesn't have any spirit. It's actually degrading you. And people in workplace are like this. They'll keep quiet and internally they're thinking how to give negative appraisals or how to, complain about someone else or how to shout at someone else. So that monam is not gravity. Gravity, the monum of the situation is when internally you are thinking deep. When you have fight with someone, then you don't think, oh, that person is bad. They said this to me. They're thinking, why did that such person act like this? What did I do wrong? Is there any problem inside me? Or is that person undergoing some circumstantial issues? So you have some gravity of thought. You have some depth in the thought. Don't just unnecessarily let unnecessary thoughts to flow through your mind. Atma vinigraha, self-control. This is an important word. Atma vinigraha. Atma means self and vinigraha means control. And then you have bhava, one's nature, aka swabhava. Samshuddhir. Samshuddhir means together. Sam means together. Sam kirtan. We say sam kirtan or come together and do kirtan. So sam means together. And shuddhi means purification. So sam here would also mean complete. Because when you come together, you are more. You are towards completeness. So some in this circumstance means complete. So complete purification. So this is the austerity of mind. If you purify your mind completely of material modes and you come to your original nature, your swabhava, not acquired nature, your true original nature, you remain in self-control and your thoughts are not shallow. Your thoughts are deeper, more deeper. And saumyatvam, which means you are gentle, and calm. And that gentleness of mind can only come from without being duplicitous. So that will basically become austerity of the mind. So what does Prabhupada say on austerity?
Previous one will help, right? Swadhyaya will help you do these.
Correct. If you do swadhyaya, if you do regular swadhyaya and abhyas. Abhyas means practice and swadhyaya means swa means self, adhyaya means self-study of Vedic literature. So if you every day study regularly Vedic literatures, your mind will be filled with positive situations. Your consciousness will expand. It will not sit on lower problems of existence. When the problems are too much, then you rise above the problem. You don't escape the problem. You rise above the problem. When you rise above the problem, the size of the problem becomes small.
I was thinking we're very lucky though, in the sense that there's a lot of people who speak on the religion is like boring.
Boring.
Austerity.
Yes.
But I mean, sitting down to read Srimad Bhagavatam is like fun. So I've got half an hour to read Bhagavatam. Like if you're reading Harry Potter, this, that, the other, what's the difference? It's the same. The only thing is this is real and made up.
Correct. So therefore, Prabhupada has said that, someone who is in Krishna consciousness, who is in association with scriptures, they will never have a boring life. And they cannot have limited knowledge because knowledge is so deep and so interesting that it's impossible to be having a bored life. If you are having a bored life, someone says, oh yeah, Prabhu, I'm in the motions. I'm just going through, I'm spaced out. That means they're not reading scriptures. Simple. Directly, you can tell they're not reading scriptures. If they are reading scriptures, their mind is full of anxiety, questions, and joy because their mind has transported into the spiritual world. The body is still here, but the mind is thinking of the spiritual topics. So therefore, Krishna consciousness is so much joy. It's not joy for people who are not reading scriptures. Simple. Solutions for the agitated mind. This is the solution Prabhupada gives. Best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as in the Puranas and Mahabharata. What you just literally said, right? This is the beauty. If you are able to divert your agitated mind and read books, then you will be extremely satisfied. And I can vouch for it. You feel great joy throughout the day. You feel light. Any struggles that come, you rise above the struggles and the struggles become smaller. One can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. So read books, Puranas, Mahabharatas later on. First Bhagavad Gita, then Srimad Bhagavatam, then Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then you can go on to Mahabharata. But you can listen about Mahabharata also. But in the meantime, you are very much interested in Mahabharata, don't stop yourself. Go and read it. There is Krishna Dharma's Mahabharata. It's extremely amazing. Mahabharata. In one of the pastimes, I'm now speaking of Krishna, and I went to this place. In one of the pastimes in Mahabharata, this Arjuna has vowed that, he will kill this Jayadratha before the sunset. and the whole Kaurav army knows that Arjuna is coming for Jayadratha today. So they arrange their army in such complications, phalanx and phalanx of army, like like a tortoise and tortoise. So there are like 7 to 8 circles, and all great warriors are protecting in those circles. So, and right in the center or right at the end is Jayadratha, and Arjuna has only one day to come to this point. It's so fascinating to read that. Your hairs will definitely stand on end, and you'll be filled with chivalry and joy and devotion. Because Arjuna not only kills so many soldiers, but he has to somehow deflect his spiritual master, Dronacharya, who comes also to fight with Arjuna. Karna comes, Dronacharya comes, and Arjuna has to deal with all of them. And eventually, when he reaches very close, then the horses are tired. Horses, their legs are tired. And suddenly he sees this, some 3 brothers come and they shoot arrows, and the whole sky is full of arrows. Someone who has seen Hollywood, Bollywood movies, they see sometimes these kind of fights and they see arrows are coming from all directions. It's literally the situation for Arjun. The arrows are coming and the whole sky is completely dark because everywhere the arrows are coming, and there is no sight of anything. And Arjuna is such a powerful warrior that he can dismantle all these arrows just by his one arrow. And sometimes, it's not even possible, but somehow with the help of Krishna, he emerges out. But now these horses are tired, and Arjun doesn't know what to do. He's in anxiety because sun is about to set. And Krishna then says, okay, use your arrows and create a cover, like a house, like a cover where other arrows can't penetrate. So Arjun shoots an arrow, he creates a cover. Then he shoots an arrow, he creates a small pond for the horse to drink water. These are all divine weapons. You basically invoke them to actually get these elements. And when the horses then go under the shelter of that arrows and they are starting to drink water, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is massaging the feet of the horses. If you don't know about Krishna, then this is the personality we are worshipping. He goes there and he takes these horses and individually he is massaging all their feet, and the horses feel so relaxed and overjoyed. They feel so filled with happiness that and that spot is what is in Kurukshetra somewhere, and we were looking for that spot. I was looking, where is that spot where Krishna would have massaged the feet of the horses. So this is the Supreme Personality of Krishna, because for Krishna, project was not important here. Project was to get Arjun to kill Jayadratha. For him, the importance was of the person executing the project, the health and well-being of that personality. Horse, Krishna would have said, easily, oh, horses have no soul. He didn't say those things. He knows that there is a soul inside, and he's created them and he's taking care of them. He's Bhakta Vatsal. And then, then Arjun comes out, and then, there is another set of fight. And then Duryodhan comes to fight with Arjun, and he's given this protection by Dronacharya where he's got a shield and no one can penetrate that shield, because Duryodhan can't fight Arjuna. Arjuna will kill him in a flash. So his spiritual teacher, Dronacharya, gives him his own shield. And that shield is impenetrable. Now Arjuna is in anxiety. He's thinking, oh my God, what do I do? Every arrow I'm shooting is not affecting him at all. And my time is getting wasted. I have to reach Jayadratha. So then Arjun turns to Krishna. And Krishna says, Arjun, you have to hit him arrow in between the finger, because his fingers are exposed. You have to hit it between the nail and the finger. Is there any space between the nail and the finger? Very tiny space. So then Arjun summons an arrow which basically and aims at a distance, because only that was the small portion which was exposed. And the arrow hits him inside and his nails come out. And he goes mad out of pain. Even though fully protected, he was unprotected. Therefore, wherever there is Krishna, you can never lose. There will be morality and victory. That is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, end chapter and the verses. So Krishna guided Arjuna through so many things, and all of these intricates you can only know when you read Mahabharata. But deeper than Mahabharata is Srimad Bhagavatam. Pure devotional service, not mixed. But you can know the personality of God by reading Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is, if you meditate on these pastimes, you can't feel the pain of the material world. you will remember the Supreme Lord. And in fact, if someone is in hospital undergoing intense pain, and if they chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra or remembers Krishna, Prabhupada says in Srimad Bhagavatam that their pain is reduced. Now, there is no scientific, I just want to have a disclaimer. There is no possible scientific disclaimer or experimentation done to prove this, but I can understand what Prabhupada is saying, because your mind gets transported out of the pain and into the consciousness of Krishna. You still have bodily pain and it is sucking your consciousness in, but you're consciously trying to come out of that pain and you're trying to remember Krishna. So your pain is reduced if you're not focusing on the pain.
How Krishna helped the horses, just like that, Krishna is non-different from his name.
Correct.
So he can have the same potency.
Correct. He can fully be present and he can direct us. And therefore devotees are sober even when they are ending their life and they are in pain. So austerity is in three modes. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. Nature of austerity in goodness is you have transcendental faith. In passion, your faith is unsteady and usually out of pride. In ignorance, your faith is temporary and you have it's out of foolishness. So this is the kind of an expectation from doing in austerity is expectation is that they will in goodness you don't expect any material benefit. In passion, you have subtle and gross expectation of benefit. Subtle is respect or worship of others. No, so you might be expecting like a boosting of your false ego by getting worship or getting some honor. And in ignorance, your expectation is some material harm or material problem. You know, you're in complete ignorance. You don't want anything positive. You want something negative. So that is in ignorance.
Very difficult though, right? Because Pratishtha is so subtle.
Pratishtha is very, yeah, honor is very subtle. It's not easy to identify honor. But by practicing, you will be able to interject the moment when you see that the honor is affecting you. The moment the honor affects, the moment someone glorifies you and it starts affecting you, that is the moment you see, and devotees can interject and say, oh, this honor is now actually affecting me. So what they do is they immediately take the honor and offer it to their spiritual master. If they are conscious. If they are not conscious, they will be sitting there and you can't know anything.
Like you said, the layer is so thick.
The layer is very thick. Yeah, it will become thicker and thicker. So end goal for austerity in the mode of goodness is for the sake of Supreme. In the mode of passion, for the sake of subtle or gross self, I, me, and mine. So I'll do austerity so that my son or my daughter can become advanced A-level grades and get into the grammar school, or I'll do austerities for all kinds of things. Not saying they are bad austerities, just that they are in mode of passion. They are not.
Because we're so conditioned from lifetimes of lifetime.
Correct.
Think about self-preservation, self-benefit.
Yes. So it's difficult. Not general population will not be easily able to get it if they don't read Bhagavad Gita. And then ignorance, your end goal is to destroy or injure yourself. And again, which this will not even benefit you or anyone else. So they don't know their end goals, and sometimes they know their end goal, but it is destructive. And the process of austerity in the mode of goodness is you follow scriptures. You follow some guidance, basically. You take some guidance. You go to the temple, you go to the church, you ask for some guidance. In passion, you take the scripture, but you also depend on your mind, or sometimes it's completely dependent on your mind. So, the temple people will say, do it like this, but then they will do it completely like wishy-washy. Temple people will they say offer food like this, but then they will also add some onion preparation or a garlic preparation, and they will offer that also to the god. Or they'll make some meat preparation and they will also, so they'll follow something, but they'll also depend on their mind.
Could it also be duplicity? Use the Shastra to your own end. So you pick some obscure verses or something to back up what you
Yes. Yeah, you can do that. But if they are speaking this using scriptures to back up what they are, someone who is higher or learned in scriptures can see that whatever they are referencing is of the lower category of knowledge. Sometimes they quote higher category of knowledge, but they want to avoid the immediate duty which they think is lower, because they want to do what their mind is saying to them. And to justify what their mind is saying, they will always speak of highest philosophy. They will never speak what is needed at this point in what situation and circumstances you are in. They will not speak, but they will speak highest philosophies to you. because they either want to justify what their mind says, or they just want pratishtha or honor.
So that's duplicity.
That is duplicity, and it's, out of laziness, out of enmity or whatever. And then self-torture. Ignorant people, they do self-torture. Examples of austerity in the mode of goodness is Chitraketu Maharaj in Bhagavatam. He lost his son, and Narad Muni and Anjira Muni told him, you have to do this, follow this process. They gave him a mantra, and for 7 days he strictly followed it. And on the 7th day, he saw the Supreme Lord. So he did it with determination, and he could see the Supreme Lord. In passion, persons in the mode of passion arrange to be worshipped by subordinates and let them wash their feet and offer riches. This happens in India. You become like a cult leader, and then everyone in your cult is going to worship you. They are always going to speak amazing things about you. Sometimes you can see this in devotee communities also, where certain devotee becomes very powerful, and everyone else is now in awe and reverence of that devotee, and no one can see if anything is happening wrong, or if they can see, they will not speak out because they are under pressure to not be able to communicate with someone who can actually correct that person. You should not be correcting the person directly anyways, because if that person is in a positional power, should be speaking to someone who is at equal position or at higher position. Better is to speak someone who is at higher position.
But to see it is not wrong.
To see it is not wrong. If you can see that there is a problem, but if you don't communicate that out, then there is a problem. And because the cult leader is becoming more and more powerful, there are communities where you preach to 4 or 5 devotees, then those 4 or 5 devotees become 10 devotees, then that 10 becomes 50, and that 50 becomes 100. And by the time the devotees are like 20, 30, 40, you are already established leader of the cult. They are going to come to you, and they're going to ask you everything, and you establish your default position in the group. And actually, you are also not establishing, they are establishing it for you, because they are lower, they look at you as a higher. So then this is where Prabhupada always prayed to the Supreme Lord. Once Prabhupada was doing Aarti, and his disciple asked him, Prabhupada, what are you praying? And Prabhupada said, I'm praying to the Lord that so that I am not entrapped in Maya. Prabhupada was never entrapped in Maya, but just to set an example to his disciples that you should not be lenient with yourself, you should be fearful of Maya. And, Prabhupada is just giving him an example that this is my prayer. So this is how you should also pray to the Lord, that please, Lord, keep me free from Maya. Always keep me at your lotus feet. So, in devotee communities also, we have to be careful. We don't have to disrespect every leader in ISKCON now, because we have discussed about cult leaders. You will see certain people who will have prowess and power and followers. It doesn't mean you have to disrespect. You communicate with them as within the boundaries of Vaishnava etiquette.
Also, is it not our humility? Like, we may be judging it wrong as well. Like,
correct.
If somebody goes to somebody's house and he's an established guru and they're washing his feet,
yes,
and all the rest of it, they're making advancement from that, and he is a pure person. So
yes,
where's the harm? So our envy will be like, oh, he's a cult leader.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done it in the temple. He's done it privately at his disciples' house.
Exactly.
What is the harm?
There is no harm. Exactly. So, there is envy. The reason I say cult leader is because in ISKCON we have had problems where people have they have preached to so many people, then their numbers have increased, then they have said, okay, now we want to change certain rules of ISKCON. Or we don't want to follow GBC, or I am saying the right thing, GBC is doing wrong. Yeah, maybe true, possible that GBC is possibly doing something wrong. But, resolve that by conversation, resolve that with persistent communication. Don't leave ISKCON and say, okay, ISKCON is bad and those people are bad. Prabhupada said, always cooperate, never leave ISKCON. If things are not going your way, have patience. Krishna is seeing it. Krishna will change things in right time. And when Krishna changes things, Krishna never teaches just one person. Krishna, his shot is like all-rounder shot. When you're playing polo, you beat one ball and all balls are going into their respective holes, all 6, 7, 9, whatever are there. So, an effective expert person can shoot and only 3, 4 balls will be left. When Krishna shoots, all balls will be gone. Nothing will be left. All will be gone in right perspective. So Krishna does many things in one single action. So not necessarily the same person who everyone was thinking, oh, now this person is gone. No, those people who were complaining or they had some tinge of envy in their complaints or something, they also get purified. They also get some reaction. So therefore, one has to be careful. But yeah, careful also of the cultish personalities or cultish type of leaders. If they don't speak about Prabhupada, if they don't let you worship other spiritual masters, if they don't let teach you how to worship or give respect to other spiritual teachers, if they don't teach you how to be humble than the blade of a grass, and if they teach you that you have to be leader all the time, they don't teach you servant leader, how to be a servant leader. That's where there is a problem, because there is some hierarchy, there is some cultish kind of a system going on. You have to be careful.
Back to Swadhyaya. If you're not doing that, then you won't see it.
You won't see it. In fact, root cause of lot of people leaving ISKCON is also Swadhyaya, because they have not studied scriptures, they don't have relationship with Krishna, so they can't connect to Krishna personally. That's why I keep saying, speak to Krishna in your own language. If you have Russian language, speak to Krishna in Russian. If you have like a London jargon, ene, speak to Krishna like that, no problem. Speak to Krishna as a person and read scriptures. Krishna speaks back to you via scriptures. If you don't read scriptures and say, I speak to Krishna, that is basically completely your mind. Scriptures will take your mind and they will purify your mind. And ignorance is Hiranyakashipu is an example. Charity. Now we come to charity. We are already finished our time, but I want to still cover it. I hope and pray that some of you can stay. Those who can't stay, that's perfectly fine. But I think charity is the last topic. We will need another 15 minutes, I think, to cover charity. Yeah, perfectly fine. So now Krishna is basically discussing charity in the three modes. So we discussed sacrifices, we discussed austerity of the body, mind, and speech. What is the austerity? And then we also discussed austerities, how they are affected in three modes. And now we are going to discuss charity in three modes. So in goodness, you have reasons. Your reasons for doing is charity is you just want to do it out of duty. You don't have, I want to do it because I want some fruitive results. In ignorance, you don't have any reasons. You're just going to give, I'm walking and this beggar is on the street, I'm just going to give them some money. Or you're costly going to give them money for some drugs or something, for bad substances.
You don't think of repercussions.
You don't think of repercussions, no. And then there is expectation in goodness, is no expectation of returns. In passion, there is expectation of reciprocation. That's the highlight of charity in the mode of passion, that there has to be some reciprocation. And in ignorance, illusion, and you do not know, and everything is disguised, basically.
So in passion is the reason for that lack of faith.
In passion is the reason, lack of faith. No, I think it's just you're still materialistic. You want something back. So you have some reciprocation. And what are the coordinates of charity? What is the location of charity? In goodness, you find a proper place and proper time. In passion, it may be done at an improper place and improper time. And in ignorance, is done at impure place and improperly, for sure. It's done at an impure place and improper time. So for devotees, we have to find that we are doing it in proper place and proper time. Proper place and proper time is any time you are in temple is a proper time and it's a proper place. It's the holiest of all the places to be in the temple, to do the charity. And the qualification of a charity receiver, person should be worthy of a good character. You should not give charity to a person who doesn't have a good character or is not worthy of the charity, because they will misuse it. They don't know the how the charity is to be used. And in passion, they are 50-50. Sometimes they are partially deserving, sometimes they are not deserving, and you will just give to them. And after you give charity to someone and you are in the mode of passion because you expected some reciprocation from charity, then you will be unwilling, you will be grudging, or you will feel regret. Oh, why did I give so much? I should have given less. That charity, if that feeling comes in your heart, that is in the mode of passion. And in ignorance, basically, you are just completely in ignorance. You give it to anyone, like someone who is a drug addict, you will give a charity for them to buy more drugs. But in mode of goodness, you do the charity in the pleasant mood, not in an unpleasant mood.
It's quite subtle, slowly, refinement
is there, yes. And when someone is doing charity, Prabhupada mentions it, let's just see. In Vedic literature, charity given to a person engaged in spiritual activities is recommended. If someone's not engaged in spiritual activities, that charity is not recommended. There is no recommendation of giving charity indiscriminately. Spiritual perfection is always a consideration. Naturally, when you see a sannyasi, you will be inclined to give them a charity because you see, oh, the person is so pure. So yes, that is also a consideration. Give charity to someone who is very pure. Therefore, charity is recommended to be given at a place of pilgrimage and at lunar or solar eclipses, or at the end of month, or to a qualified Brahmana, or to a Vaishnav in temples. So when you are giving to Vaishnavas in temple, then there is no restriction of lunar eclipse or solar eclipse, because the best place of pilgrimage is temple.
Give the example of passion of ignorant and materialistic people that want something to. Is it wrong to give to a pure person with a hope and expectation that you'll be purified?
If they have an expectation of purifying yourself, then that's not a problem. That's spiritual. It's the mode of goodness. Such charity should be given without any consideration of returns. Charity to poor is sometimes given out of compassion, but if a poor man is not worth giving charity to, then there is no spiritual advancement. You know, the purpose of charity is to progress spiritually, but you are trying to give to a poor man who is not worthy of getting the charity, meaning they will take your money and immediately use it for harmful things.
So that's sentimental and you get karma for that.
Yes, and there is no spiritual advancement. The purpose of charity is spiritual advancement.
Passion not to boost your own full ego.
Yeah, and then you're not even compassionate. It's misdirected compassion. In other words, indiscriminate charity is not recommended in Vedic literatures. In ignorance, similarly, if a person gives charity to a suitable person but without respect and without attention, that sort of charity is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So you are thinking, I'll go to the temple and I am bigger. I have so much money and I will give them some money because they need money. They are beggars. If you have this kind of a mentality, and even if you go to temple and give the charity, then there is no use of that charity because that was done in the mode of darkness. The hand of the person who is giving the charity is up and the hand of the person who is taking the charity is down. But the consciousness of the person who is giving the charity should be down, and the consciousness of the person who is taking the charity, at least if they are Vaishnavas, is they are thinking that, okay, by doing this charity, this person will be purified, let me pray for him. So the consciousness of the person whose hand is down is actually higher, and the consciousness of the person who's giving the charity should be lower. So that I need the mercy and I have to, pray to this person and let me give this charity to him so that for my own benefit and for my own purification, as you mentioned just now.
Not I'm saving them.
Not I'm saving them. They need this money. If I don't give this money, then there is a pastime in this temple when there was no money to pay bills or anything. And, they were still feeding to the Lord something. Then on that day, they had to pay rent. And the owner of the house said that we will evict you if you don't pay the rent by this date. And the devotees just prayed to the Lord and just went on book distribution, their ordinary day of life. And suddenly the money started to fall from the sky. And they picked up the money and they gave it to the temple president, and the rent for the month was done. So, and book distributors always, there is a saying that book distributors always find money. When we are walking, when book distributors are walking, even on the street, they can spot someone's 20 pound leftover. There are many devotees who have done book distribution. We have this experience where we are running short of money. Suddenly someone's envelope, we are finding it on street. No name, nothing. You don't know who to give it to. And there is just money in there, like 50 pound or 100 pound or 20 pound like that. So the point is, money is going to come on its own accord by mercy of the Lord if someone's engaged in the service of the Lord. So don't think that you are giving something to someone. In ignorance, contributions for indulgence in intoxication and gambling are not encouraged here. That sort of contribution is in the mode of ignorance. Passion charity is sometimes performed for elevation to heavenly kingdom, and sometimes with great trouble and with repentance afterwards. That is in the mode of passion. You take too much trouble, you give charity, and then you think, oh, I shouldn't have given that much. I made it with such hard effort. I should have saved something for myself. I shouldn't have given it.
You said before that you must feel a pinch for it to count as well.
Yeah, it has to be this much that it pinches you some little bit. If it doesn't pinch you, then that is not a charity.
Pinch but not regret.
Pinch but not regret. Without pinch, that is not tapasya. No charity. Passion. Charity is also sometimes given under obligation at the request of a superior. So someone tells you, and because they are superior to you, feel pressured to give charity. That is in the mode of passion. Because you know that person who has asked you to do charity, they have invited you to their homes for home programs so many times, and you have eaten their prasad so many times. They have cooked for you, and now you feel so much pressure that, oh, now this person has asked me to give donation. He's asking me to sponsor a set of Srimad Bhagavatam, and now I can't do anything. And let me just do it because he's helped me. So he's itched me, I'm going to itch back. That's not in the mode of goodness. There are many charitable foundations which offer their gifts to institutions where sense gratification goes on. So, you know, you're giving charity to some organization, and then that organization then further hires services of people which are basically doing all kinds of illicit activities or sense gratification with that money. There are some newspaper articles about Oxfam and others. I don't want to get because it will be controversial, but you can Google about some of the scandals that you can see in the Oxfam and other big charities of the world.
I can give my own personal example. I work for the national headquarters of the charity Liverpool Street. We used to have a champagne reception once a year in the name of charity. So then they had a staff meeting, said, anyone on race? I said, why are we doing champagne reception? And they're all on top of me. The CEO was like, our staff are working so hard. You want to deny them this simple pleasure to have this once a year? And I was like, but the cost you bringing the staff from the whole country, put them in hotels to have a champagne reception.
Yeah.
Imagine what we could do with that. Like,
yes, they can't accept that. So lastly, verses 23 to 8, they explain that Om Tat Sat, which means that anything, all these four aces, they have to be done for the Supreme Lord. Austerity, charity, sacrifice, and eating. All four, they have to be done for the Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord is represented by these three words, Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat, Om means it's always chanted in the beginning by those who perform sacrifice, charity, and austerity and eating in accordance with the scriptural regulations to attain the Supreme. Tat means is uttered by persons aspiring for liberation from material entanglement, and they perform sacrifice, austerity, and charity without desiring fruitive results. And Sat is used to indicate absolute truth, and also the knower or the seeker of the absolute truth and the performer of the sacrifice. So Sad means the Supreme Lord and also the Sadhu who is doing the sacrifice or austerity or charity. All auspicious works of sacrifice, austerity, or charity are performed to please the Supreme Person, and any work dedicated to the Lord is permanent and is called Sat. Asat, any sacrifice, charity, or austerity done without faith in the Supreme is impermanent, and therefore it is called Asat and is useless both in this life and the next. Basically, it's useless. Any charity, austerity, if not done for the Lord. So if someone's doing Lent, fine. If then the purpose of Lent should be to remember the God or love God more in that 40 days. Someone's doing Eid, then they should be non-violent and they should remember God more and respect other living entities, other religions. But I don't know if that is the aim of doing that Eid. Similarly, any other austerity someone does, then that should be the aim. Ekadashi is also for the same aim. Fasting is not for your bodily strength and beauty. That's a byproduct. The aim should be to please Krishna. And Krishna says, do it for my own pleasure. He says this to Yudhishthira. So with that, we finish the 17th chapter. There were many, many points I wanted to go in this 17th chapter because it's the next exercise from the 17th chapter is actually for you to now go and identify the different religious sects that you are born or raised in or you know of, and find out what are these four activities that those religions, what are the process of worship, what is the habits of eating, and then based on these four, your own conclusion, come up with where that specific path or practice lies, whether it's in the mode of goodness or whether it's in the rajas or whether it is tamas or whether it is the highest or not the highest, maybe middle level, maybe And as I said, even in those religions, there will be people who will be in sattva, in goodness. So they will be attracted to the pure philosophy within that religion. Okay, any questions?
I've got one question just going back a bit.
Just give me 1 minute.
Sure.
For online, I have not heard anything.
Please.
Hare Krishna.
It's, any question online?
I think I just want to thank you for the class, and it was a really nice class. It really put a lot of perspective in my sight. Like it gave me a lot of insight on how I can better the way my actions, and like I can just like put some introspection in my actions and the way I perform. In the task that you just gave, because my background was Swaminarayan, I used to be joining a lot of the Swaminarayan Sanstars and stuff like that. So I have already taken part in that task, but yeah, so it's a very introspective task that
Yes, it is an introspective task. Yes.
Yeah, it's a really cool. It really puts an understanding on how you can understand what sort of modes you have yourself from the way you've been brought up and stuff like that. I just wanted to ask and request. I know you said that you didn't want to post it on YouTube, this class, but is it possible for you to put it on privately so you can only add the people that you wanted? Because it will help me. It will help me and other people hopefully in like rewatching the class and getting some more nectar out of them.
Yeah, sure. I'll request them to share in a private YouTube, but do not share the contents of this class because this is an AI age and anything can be blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
That mean the audio on the WhatsApp done.
This session is recorded. There is a video recording of it. So people can, I think the organizers will share it with people.
And the slides go down as well.
Slides will be shared as well. Yes, I will export it out and share it out. Thank you for reminding. Anything else? Harini Mataji? No, sir. Harini Mataji, you have any questions, any thoughts, any suggestions?
I'm okay. Thank you so much. That was a very nice class. Inspiring.
Thank you for being attentive. Sohil Prabhu, Harini Mataji, and others. Neela Mataji.
I have one more thing.
Yes, go on, Sohil.
I'm part of the team that's organizing for Radha Desh Mellows.
Okay.
So I wanted to just see if anyone is interested in coming to Radha Desh Mellows. I'm part of the Crawley Sangha. So if anyone is interested, they can contact me if they want to have a sort, because we have an early bird at the moment until 15th of November. So I'm just wondering if you would like to just come for that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. So I'm repeating what Sohil Prabhu said. If someone wants to go to Radha Desh Mellows, it's really, really amazing. And the prasad is awesome. Kirtan is definitely awesome. Pizzas are just out of the world. Still material, but anyways, I'm just saying from my experience. It's amazing experience. So if you want to go to Radha Desh Mellows, everything will be sorted. Just contact Sohil Prabhu. Coming back to you, Nayan Prabhu, you had a question.
Yeah, I was just going back a bit. I just trying to get the link from my mind from the 16th to the 17th. It seems a little bit like there's a lot of repetition. Krishna speaking quite a lot from other chapters. So what's the uniqueness and what's the flow?
Okay, the flow is Krishna has concluded in 16th that Shastra is to be followed. So Arjun begins 17th with, okay, what about those people who partially follow, don't follow, are in between? That is his first question. And to answer that, Krishna has to explain. You have to give me one moment. My wife is calling. My apologies. Hello. हाँ मैं सेशन के बीच में हूँ. अर्जेंट है कुछ? मैं यहाँ पे पहुंचूंगा 2 बज रहा ना, 3:30 बजे तक, 4 बजे तक पहुंचूंगा. All right, bye. So yeah, so 16th chapter begins with conclusion of the scriptures, and then 17th chapter Krishna is explaining, okay, what is the situation of people who, so he's basically explaining all the modern day religions, and he's discarding this modern concept of how we understand religion, and we stamp religions, oh, this is in ignorance, this is, no, you can't do that. The basis of understanding religion is to understand what modes you are in, And from that, what kind of faith you have developed, and what are these 4 principal practices you follow or anyone follows, evaluate them, and then come to a conclusion. But you have to also understand that all these 4 things has to be done for only for the Supreme Lord. Om Tat Sat. That is the conclusion of the 17th chapter. 16th chapter is divine and demoniac nature. So there Krishna explained what are the divine people, what are their qualities, demoniac people, how they behave, what are their qualities. And eventually, you know, that these demoniac people, the divine people, they have, you know, whether whatever category, they have to come back to me, to Supreme Personality God. So he explains what is the spiritual world like. Na tad bhashyate suryo, na shashanko, na pavakaha, that there is no need of electricity or light there. One who goes there never comes back again. So he describes the process of surrender, what the spiritual world is like, and then tells that divine people will follow scriptures and demon, and then 17 begins. 16th, before 16th finishes, the Krishna in 15th chapter is establishing that he is actually the knower of the Vedas and Vedanta Sutra, and he is to be actually known from all the Vedas. That is the and that he is, you know, there are 2 kinds of people, fallible and infallible, and he is beyond both the fallible, and he is beyond liberated beings also. So he explains those things. And from they get into 15th, beginning of the 15th, this description of this material world, you know, this material world he is explaining because Arjun should know that he should develop some distaste for material world. So he's explaining how complex this material world, and you must get out of this material world. So that's how he begins the 15th chapter, to give him some distaste, and then he explains about, you know, his own nature, and how the Vedas are very flowery, and what the ultimate purpose is, that no knowledge and forgetfulness, all is coming from me. And 14th chapter, again, you have done, and 13th chapter is about the 6 questions of Arjuna. 14th chapter is the modes of nature. And because modes of nature are so fundamental in deciding everything, because right now 17th chapter is also based on modes. So you build your faith based on modes. And then in next chapter, in 18th chapter, you will see modes are then further playing for deeper role, where when Prabhupada is going to start explaining about Varnashram system. Because Arjun's question begins in next chapter with sannyas. What is tyaga, and what is sannyas? You know, sannyasi. So what is the purpose of giving up, renunciation, and what a renunciant should do? He's beginning next chapter like that. And then he'll go into different categories of human beings, basically, varnas and ashrams. And there again, varnas and ashrams are according to modes. What mode you have cultivated, that gives you the faith, and then that will propel you also into specific types of occupation and specific type of existence.
The Shastra and the modes are like the 2 current themes that are coming all the way through.
Yes. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. All right. If there are no more questions, yes, Mandy.
In terms of demoniac and divine,
Yes.
all spirit souls are pure and good, aren't they? Is there such a thing as a wicked soul?
Is there such a thing as wicked soul? If the desires of the soul are very bad, like inauspicious desires, that soul you can call as inauspicious soul.
But that would be because of contacting the material world, right?
Correct. But you know, now they have no desire of giving up such bad desires. They know such desires are bad. They get some knowledge. They know it is bad. They can see the effect of such bad desires on other people, but they start to enjoy it. Because they get conditioned and they like the conditioning. If
they can still be purified.
They can still be purified if they choose to be purified. Prabhupada gives an example that if someone's actually sleeping and they want to wake up, you can shake them and they'll wake up. But someone who is pretending to be sleeping, you shake them up very hard, they will still be sleeping because they're pretending. So you can't break a pretense. So essentially you can't break a desire of some soul to enjoy in certain ways. So then they are like dushkritinaha. Dushkritinaha means, dush means bad. Kritinaha means to desire bad activities because of the bad nature.
Okay.
Dushkritina. So therefore, yes, mudha dushkritinaha. Like that. Mudha means people who are having no intelligence to progress in spiritual life. And Dushkrita means one who just cultivate bad desires, bad activities. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Stop the share. And then how do I stop recording? I think I just have to end.
It's that green one.
Oh, here. Stop recording.